This guy's the strongest dragon hunter and a repeat offender who's seen the end of the world more times than he should have. And all he's after is finding the 4 newborn dragons scattered across the globe. In every previous timeline, these dragons are harassed, married off, and killed by humans before they even have a chance to grow. Their deaths send the adult dragons into a total rage, and they invade the Earth seeking revenge. He's fighting back every time. He's slaughtering dragons by the dozens and hundreds, and it still isn't enough. No matter how many dragons he kills, more keep arriving until the entire planet is wiped out. So this time, he decides to shift his game plan. Instead of waiting for the invasion, he's gonna find the newborn dragons first. They look exactly like regular humans, and their plan is simple: to adopt, protect, and give them the happy childhood they never had. That way, he'll prevent the apocalypse before it even starts. Their first destination is Italy to meet the first dragon. Jute meets his first target, and thanks to his system's special ability, he's like a human version of Duolingo, able to use every language in the world. The little green-haired girl questions her identity and intentions, to which he responds that they have unfinished business between them. She realizes this guy's got the lowdown on her. He confirms this, and then asks if she knows about him too. Without hesitation, the ominous girl confirms her name is Yuait, showing she's all in the know. Our guy didn't expect to get busted like that, so he switches to a serious tone and asks where she heard about him. The girl points to her badge of identification on her formal police attire. It's right out there in plain sight. She drops the joking tone, hilariously revealing she has no clue who he is or what he's about. Still, there's one thing she's dead certain about. The guy in front of her is a major player. Given the view, a guy with that kind of pull doesn't belong here. Both verdicts are spot on, so he just gives her the cold shoulder. That makes her wonder if he's some kind of hitman sent here to take her out. He denies such a possibility, so she assumes it must be related to some top-secret kidnapping mission. Our guy basically copes with that being the case. She annoys him by asking if he's the kind of weirdo on Reddit who gets off on dragons. Height's had enough of her playful attitude, and assures the dragon that his purpose is to protect her this time. This means if he doesn't follow her lead, he'll have to resort to heavy-handed tactics to get her to comply. A fascinating revelation about the Green Dragon clan is their unique perspective, allowing them to instantly grasp the scope of a situation, making them far more perceptive than other clans. In short, she's reading his intentions, being part of the Green Dragon clan, but as for our tall and brooding protagonist, he's strong-arming her into making the right call. Considering the idea of playing along with his ridiculous plan, the Dragon Green expects at least to be treated decently wherever he holds her. Height confirms he'll make sure of that, and in the end, even the dragon admits he's got no real play. He's gonna kidnap her one way or another, but at least he can treat her like a guest. That's the only thing that matters to him. He even makes a deal with the Pinky to show sincerity from both sides. Noticing her shaky hand, Jite makes a gesture to reassure her, and I guess she accepts it. In the next scene, the green chick wakes up with her hair all over the place, a bit disoriented, wondering if her high prince is awake. Curiously, I think he looks a lot like Tatsumiki, but with longer hair. She ends up finding him in the room where Jute seems to be communicating with his ability. He tells his shadow to go to a specific location for a mission. This is one of his abilities called the Shadow of the Grand Duke, which lets him summon a clone that's an exact replica, housing 50% of his powers. The clone manifests in his image, acting as a servant to carry out his orders. He moves forward and passes by the green dragon, which greets him politely, showcasing how it's a dead ringer. The real Height assures him that he's got nothing to do with his other self, and it turns out this guy is the one doing all the dirty work for him. He's basically using the shadow clone jutsu to clock in from 9 to 5. That's some genius level stuff. Anyway, she quickly realizes he's not going to be working at all, but Height argues he's technically working because the clone is one of his skills. What matters most is that he's by her side, providing bodyguard services. She buys that explanation and sits down next to him, hinting that they should grab some breakfast. Get a surprise she'd bring it up while playfully pestering him to eat, especially since he skipped dinner last night and still shot her down. He's following Brian Johnson's protocol to keep those calories low. That's a given. The green dragon is pouting, saying it's weird that the homeowner doesn't even eat while she can do whatever she wants. He counterattacks by asking why he bothers eating 3 times a day when dragons can easily survive without eating. The playful dragon tells her that life's about more than just surviving and that eating makes her happy. This catches her off guard, so she immediately gets up and orders him to come with her to do some shopping. He also declines the offer, but the green dragon insists, emphasizing he wants to show her the power of breakfast. We're headed to a mall that's packed with people. They are not focused on their shopping, but on a captivating goddess who looks like a celeb. Height walks with the stunning Dragona, realizing that couples only fight to pass the time. Height complains that they brought too much grub. The reason is simple. This guy's kitchen is bare. The dude barely has any kitchenware, and she's on it, so she's stoked to whip up a sick breakfast for him. A cranky grump is demanding she leave everything at home and eat outside, and that's pissing her off. It turns out they have to head somewhere ASAP, where she's got to tag along. He's also thinking it's past breakfast time, which gets her down because she hasn't shopped in a while. She follows him, asking where they need to go, and Higate explains that he needs more stuff before she can move in with him. He's telling her to hurry up, they've got a lot on their plate. In the next scene, some weirdo is obsessed with the beautiful girl. Hit him with a reminder to focus on the job, or he'll be seeing double. They then head to the front desk to pick up their documents. They also grab some gear and mess with the system a bit later on. The long day ends with the identification registration process. U-Bomb is now a city member, although it seems weird to have one. Height catches on and asks if he ever had one, to which Bohm explains he didn't even have a bank account in his name. In his head, Bro wonders how this dragon has survived this long. By the way, she's curious about why he chose the name Bohm. In reality, Hiddle copied it from one of the 4 seasons, one for each dragon. She's into the name U-Bomb, saying spring is the season where life blooms on Earth. So it's a beautiful name. Despite everything, he still finds it terrifying. Thanks to his eyes, every fiber of her being is screaming at her to stay away from this guy, because it's gonna be a disaster. Meanwhile, Bond thinks he's a good guy, but after meeting him for just one day, he's convinced his initial assumption was off the mark. The green dragoness argues her intuition is sharper than the rest of the world's. So with radiant confidence, she sweetly asks if she can keep an eye on him for a bit longer. This marks a major step in Jitae's personal journey after his previous setbacks. She'd never cracked a smile for him before. Now her eyes felt heavy as she gazed up at the sky, owning up to the fact that things had started off on the right foot. But in some godforsaken desert on the African continent, there's a crimson-haired dragon tormenting its opponent. The shaved head's got a bad attitude, still trying to get under her skin just so he can get his face smashed while she's enjoying the pain. She's even bummed he went down so fast, but who cares, since this gunslinger's taken down 1909 opponents, making her wonder who's gonna be her next mark. They give us a little context on what's happening in Africa. A demonic human-run terror organization, Varkata, is being used to wipe out 1,400 civilians in the process. A report suggests the findings of an African vigilante, a teenage girl known as the Night Stalker by the media. She's going solo against Varkata. Jutae reads this and realizes she has to step in and take action. Bohum's calling from the other kitchen, saying dinner's ready. He probably expected some kind of Michelin-star cuisine, but what he finds is a smoldering disaster that looks utterly unappetizing. Bro's just bummed out just looking at it while the curious little girl asks for his honest opinion. He found a sardine dish during his visit to the UK, so he decided to pair it with rice, knowing that Koreans love that combo. Bro takes a spoonful, and his soul is watching this dead fish, begging to be freed from his suffering. It's not even food at this point, it's a goddamn poison. Jitty changes the subject and reveals his intentions to catch the red dragon. Bomb makes puppy eyes and gets down, thinking it's gonna be a real mess catching her. He's not someone you can easily get on side with just by asking. That's why this guy plans to use Bomb to help with the persuasion, although she doesn't think her involvement will make much of a difference. Both dragons are from different houses, so it's a bit awkward. By the way, Bro still hasn't tried out this Emil corpse. Baum explains that all dragon houses want different things. While she loves building things, the red dragons have a distinct nature, prone to war and violence, and they love to show off their dominance, so using force won't help. They're more prone to war and brutality. They love to assert their dominance, so using force won't help. For the red dragons, pride and honor are everything, so defeat basically means death on the spot. Even though Yike gets this, he also thinks it's a bad idea if he doesn't get to her soon, because there's a heavy hitter in the same desert who's coming for her. And if he doesn't do anything, she's likely to get taken out by this person. That's why he wants Bohm to come, so they can avoid a fight and resolve it easily. She gives him the blank stare, leaving him baffled. The spring dragon finds it weird that he's asking for help in front of everyone, because at first glance, he seems like a workaholic. She's so stunned that she agrees right away, stressing that she also wants Red to make it through. However, this playful dragon has one condition. She must finish the meal in front of him. She caught him by putting her spoon aside during the conversation. Alright guys, I think our protagonist is a goner, so maybe the story is wrapped up already. He realizes he's in trouble and takes a bite that'll make the toilet cry. In the next scene, we're in the desert where Red is wreaking havoc. He's taken down nearly a dozen soldiers, calling them weak while easily taking them down. He was itching for a battle 200 that was more than just a snooze fest, which is why Red's thinking of relocating to another continent, cause in Africa, nobody's got her number. Keep in mind Green's got her back in Europe, and she's wondering if she should roll with her. 2 elite team members are secretly tailing her, despite being her top-tier squad. They watch as their comrades get wiped out by a single girl. At this point, she's less a girl and more a war machine. Knowing they're outmatched, the men desperately cling to the hope of their leader's guidance. No matter, cause Red's got their whispers on speakerphone and she's coming for them. One of them tries to shoot him, but it's too late, he's just inches from cutting him. Suddenly, flashes of yellow light distract her. A pulsating yellow mana bolt pushes her back. Red barely manages to block it with her sword, wondering why this attack is so brutal. She digs in, using brute force to hack through the yellow pulsing mana beam, sending the surviving soldiers into a panic. The heavy hitter sent to take her down has arrived. Javier's here to hunt the Night Hunter, and I'm not lying, he's totally upped his game. He's affiliated with the African Union and classified as the 8th strongest superhuman. Red comments on the intrigue, he's genuinely stoked to finally meet the big cheese. The warrior is taken aback by how young she looks, basically a teenager. That's why Red wore that mask. No one would dare face her without it. Javier is stunned that she refuses to surrender, despite the difference in power. But this dragon doesn't care about her weapon. Her pride is all. She'd rather die standing than live on her knees. Got the reference? He's got a titanium set, using the beast cloak from Naruto to deflect your attacks. The first punch misses, the second kick is blocked by his heavy sword, and the third jab is also defended. As Red lands blow after blow, he builds up momentum for a crushing punch, but to his surprise, this man remains unfazed, having a pair of titanium balls. Now Javier realizes the girl has probably never fought anyone stronger, so she's had easy fights and will die stupidly because of her pride. Javier draws his sword to finish off his opponent and, with a single slash, almost cuts off his head. He's got the most iconic sword of all time, Rosblade. Damn, that's some serious steel. With his special skill, he's gearing up to take her down. Even the red dragon knows she can't dodge this attack, so she's got to take it head on. The slash cuts the horizon, landing a crushing blow to his opponent. Red crashes into the wall, surviving the impact. Javier watched him tap into his reserves to survive the crushing blow. This means he needs to level up his power to take her down. When the dust settles, Red's nowhere to be found. He thinks she ran away, but in reality, Green has come to save her. Still, he can't help but freak out and ask what he's doing here. He's got her back, telling Red she's here to help, and with her healing powers, she's patching up her wounds. Red didn't know he'd pop up out of nowhere like this, while Bohm explains that someone's been talking about his situation. Pissed off after being healed, she's got a bone to pick with the green dragon for sticking her nose in her business. Keeping her pride as a red dragon, she refuses to back down until she dies in battle. However, Baum grabs her attention by saying that her death could change everything. The consequences of her death will fall on others, and deep down, Baum knows Red's not ready to have the party end. She wants to stay grounded and live it up, and she's hoping Red will vibe with that in-play ball. This genuinely catches the red dragon off guard, but she figures it's a lost cause fleeing from a monstrous opponent like Javier. To that, the green dragon assures her that he's got her man to take care of that. The way he said it was weird, but the same harvester has just shown up on the battlefield. Javier scans his surroundings, questioning his identity. Chite responds coldly, saying he's his escort to hell. The scene cuts and shows us the yellow dragon that can feel Green's presence within it. Excited, the little girl asks who he is, immediately recognizing that he's not a bad person. We're back to the battle between those aura cultivators. It's weird that this guy shows up to help the kid escape, Javier thinks. Instead of fighting head-on, Jute gives the warrior the chance to call off the fight. This is a backhanded insult to him, coming up to our guy, because this guy just showed up out of nowhere giving orders. He thinks Red has crossed the line, but Jite argues he's never actually taken a life. The warrior is deeply offended, but Jite assures him he'll take the girl, urging them to resolve this peacefully. Rejecting his offer, Javier grabs his sword, gathering the power of Ra in his blade. Just as he's about to take down the guy in front of him, Javier asserts that this is turf his organization owns. As one of the investigators, he's going to take them both down, saying the same thing, unleashing the full fury of the same blade that took out Red. The literal destructive force annihilates everything in his path, leaving a scorched earth in his wake. What's interesting is that Javier knows his attack wouldn't have killed this guy, especially if he's affiliated with the Red girl. Speaking of which, Shutai is basically playing the "I'm right behind you" card. Javier knows he's in trouble as mi hombre, basically diss him, saying he's only 8th on the list, basically calling him a joke. Javier quickly draws his sword again, wondering how this guy managed to take him down, but what's the point of his golden sword if he doesn't have arms to wield it? His arm flies off with a single slash as the Dark Bearer approaches to remind him he's making a huge mistake taking on this fight. Then he gives him a cover story to go and report back to his organization. Javier's gonna spin a tale that the chick overwhelmed him and he couldn't keep up with the creature's attacks, resulting in both arms getting chopped off, including his peepers, so he lost sight of the escapees. By the way, the most unsettling and terrifying part of this is that Jite has only chopped off one arm so far. To make his story fit, this guy literally puts his energy sword right next to Javier's eyes while begging for mercy, and BAM, his world goes dark and he'll never be able to wield his weapon again. The only reason Jeet made it this far is because he knows there are superhuman healers in the organization who can regrow limbs and even eyes. But what they can't heal is the terror this man has instilled in Javier. That trauma will haunt him for the rest of his life. He used fear as his tool to achieve his goals. Then, he looks at the fiery redhead who seems to have seen a ghost. The same fear has now taken root in her, achieving her second objective. Red thinks this guy is a monster, but Green explains he's just a regular dude. Red says that's a joke, claiming she's nothing but a stupid little lizard compared to her. He tells the little dragon that he'll be under his protection from now on. He'll give you both the freedom to do as you please, and he's ready to back your dreams. But the moment you leave his protection, he won't be merciful, man. Boom jumps in right away, cutting off the other dragon's stupid comment, even winking at our guy to hint that he did good. From now on, he declares Yorm is his new name, with the intention of explaining it later, and gives him a wink to imply he did good. While Yorm vents to his friend, our kid briefs the main team on the situation. Got it? For the entire time, this guy was his shadow clone, not even the real deal. At this very moment, the real Jite is in the Amazon jungle, soaking up the sun. He's giving props to his shadow clone and thinking how tough it would have been to keep Yorm in the loop. That's why the Green Dragon's intervention was needed. The lovely girl with the yellow hair sits down to ask him with whom he just spoke. He's not saying a word, but she's goading him, reminding him his smartwatch is on his wrist. On her wrist? This is the Golden Dragon, and like all golden dragons, they love the spotlight. In 6 of her lives, the Golden Dragon spent to enjoying her 15 minutes of fame. However, the dragon that had the most popularity also caused the most destruction. Though she wanted the love of 1,000, that came with a price. Think of it like a beautiful rose with razor-sharp thorns. That's also why she's stuck in the middle of nowhere to avoid attention. As he's raving about how awesome the smartwatch is, he's genuinely asking what she's doing here. The question leaves her speechless, but GT explains that the Golden Dragon should be among humans, instead is here alone with monsters. Her observation surprises her, but it seems the Green Dragon told him about him. She starts dancing excitedly when she hears his name, confirming that he knows the green one. Cut to the chase, Jite asks if he's really scared of humans now. Her words leave her shaken to the core. The beautiful angel admits she's not afraid of them because she's been around them before, but she's terrified. The creepers among them were staring at her with predator eyes, even stalking her. Deep down, she's just a scared little kid, so she's isolated herself. Changing the subject, Jute asks if she likes bread. She reminds him that he's a dragon, so he doesn't need to eat. Snapping her fingers, she activates her subdimension with so much space that she can devour an entire city. Her dimension's many arms come bearing a sack full of treats. It reminds me a bit of Megiddo's expansion of turf. Anyway, Go's eyes sparkle with joy at the sight of a big pile of assorted sweets. He's hooking her up for free while she's drooling over donuts and blueberry pies. With this as backup, Ewud gives the golden dragon a second shot at life, the chance to live with him and hang with his crew. She can enjoy all the entertainment with her crew without a care in the world. Chewing her treats, she recalls with sadness her mom's warning not to follow strangers. Jite drops the final answer, promising macarons in exchange, and it seems that's all she needs to take her, because she's game. We're cutting back to Jite's space next scene. Yoram surveys the urban landscape with a hint of annoyance at the recent changes that have been going on. She saw two powerful monsters, way stronger than her, messing with her pride. Bomb watches from a distance, knowing the red dragon is struggling to come to terms with the truth. As for Jite, he's back with another Lububu in his collection. She's still raving about the delicious food while she's got her sweet treats going down. Suddenly, she bites into it and feels a shock of electricity. This macaron took her breath away, to the point where she compares its taste to heaven, looking adorable as always. Green gets them back, while Gold is stoked to see her dragon squad mate. Both are stoked to be hugging it out in a long overdue squeeze, expressing just how much they've been missing each other. Their positive natures reflect off each other as Gold asks how long Green's been with Jute. As they catch up with Red, Jute retrieves his clone and thanks him for the top-notch service. For now, send him back to work. Red returns from the balcony, drawing her attention. At first, she seems down by his presence, but Go's stoked to see her. Playing the attention seeker, she surrounds herself with noise and questions, even mocking Yoram for doing things wrong, like the red dragon that is. Yoram shuts her up, calling her chicklet, and then growls at her for being a pest. Poor Yoram got a scolding, but it's time for a proper beatdown. Height gathers the three girls and asks their ages. Bomb's the oldest, she's 20, Corm's 16, and Go's just 10. Those dragons grow like weeds. That's Chicklet's way of reminding Hidden not to treat them like kids. What caught her attention is that everyone seems to be calling him Red Joram. To fill the gaps, Baham explains it's a name this type assigned to everyone, with her being Baham. Although the dragons haven't had their ritual ceremonies, they've already got names thanks to Jite. Following the seasonal trend, Gold realizes he's Gale, quickly catching Jite's words. And the collar he's wearing, Gale, is a dead giveaway as winter. This blue dragon egg is a shapeshifter that's about to hatch, so you'd better watch your backs. The dragons are seriously stoked about this human's knowledge of their species, but they're not giving up any intel and aren't spilling the tea on their history. Instead, he emphasizes what they should be careful about. He gives them total freedom to enjoy their entertainment here, but they can't leave or make hasty decisions. Essentially, he's going to keep an eye on them while they have fun, so they'll be under constant surveillance. Annoyed, Yoram calls him comical, something his friends don't seem to agree with. The big one, like the oldest, accepts the term as long as they can have fun among themselves. He even offers his friends the chance to bail them out, since they'll need paperwork and supplies. Little Chiclete's beaming with joy as Urigen jokes that they're even broke. That's when Jite tosses his wallet to Bam, letting him blow it in, have a good time. Being responsible, Vaughn asks how much they can splurge from their reserves. The cool cat turns around and lets them spend whatever they want. Anyway, those three problematic dragons go shopping, and what do you think? They blow through over 40 grand in one day. When they get home with all the fancy stuff, our kid's sitting in the back, regretting his life choices. Bam approaches him to return his wallet, apologizing for overspending. Although he wanted to cop him some fresh gear, they couldn't make it happen due to today's credit limit. Jite's cool with what went down. Gale catches her eye looking sharp in all his nice outfits, especially getting a smartwatch to match his style. The proud dad praises her, to which she screams and thanks him. Then Horm feels the need to flex his new smartwatch. She feels awkward showing off her new gear, replacing her old sword that got destroyed by Javier. It seems Geit's giving props to Red for buying a solid piece, telling her she didn't waste cash on useless gear. Little Chicklet flies in with a bunch of clothes she bought for Red to try on, much to his dismay. As for Baum, she reveals how Red suffers more when expressing her feelings. But in reality, she's also the most grateful. What's got our kid stumped is why Baum didn't seem to buy anything at all. Actually, he did buy something that's on the table. It's just a potted plant that shows how mature and responsible he is. She likes taking care of plants, but Height just doesn't get where she's coming from. Grasping the pot, Bohm shares that it'll bloom. It'll become a treasured and unforgettable thing in their heart forever. Also, he reminds her of a question she's been wanting to ask. Clearly, it's not just about basic grub and survival. Dude, Bam asks Jute to offer them a better entertainment experience while they're under his supervision. To his surprise, he agrees and pulls out an application to Lair Academy, suggesting they head to school. When the girls get back home, Red is fed up with the grueling interview process. Strangely, they don't find their guardian at home. Suddenly, Gold reveals an uncomfortable realization. He's bawling like a baby, freaking out that he's gonna blow it while the other two are in the clear. Yorm's fed up with her crybaby attitude and thinks this little sweetheart should keep her mouth shut and her hands full. She's calling herself a little pig while Jeet appears behind her like a ghost. She leaps to hug him, fearing they'll get dumped after the interview, but he assures them none will get dumped. As for where it was, it turns out Jeet went out to get something. Even tells Gale it's something he's obsessed with, so he's already ruined the idea of macarons for himself. But here's the twist. It's something way beyond that. We're diving into a flashback sequence that's been playing on Jite's mind. He saw how the Golden Dragon turned into a global pop sensation. During one of his interviews, he praised the show for bringing him delicious food and cooking his favorite dishes. The host asks him what he liked to eat the most. After taking a moment to think, he gives an answer. That response is revealed in the form of fried chicken. The three girls are drooling, but the girl is almost dying between them. Yorm suspects he's never tried it. Anyway, our guy walks away after hearing a buzz in his watch. Mom's a little bummed she's not eating with them, but Jite's all, it's cool, I'm good solo. She uses her charm to insist he eats with them, but this kid's already ghosted. We catch Jite taking a call from the Light Academy. They've been in touch with him about a situation that went down during the interview. To everyone's surprise, Nivon brought this up. What's got the admissions committee's jaws dropped is that Baum aced the interview. He was so on point that the other interviewers were left speechless. That's also the reason they wanted to give her the chance to be the sole candidate to host the welcome ceremony, an offer reserved just for her. To be honest, the interviewers offered her the opportunity straight up, but with a tiny catch. The green-haired girl flat out refused, so they wanted to reach out to Jute to try and convince her to take this amazing opportunity. But acting as her guardian, this guy refuses to strong-arm her into submission, cool with respecting her wishes, and that's a wrap on the call. Yorm steps out onto the balcony, knowing the call was about Green. Jute asks him to call her Bomb, but Yorm thinks it's a stupid and embarrassing name. Even mocks him, but Jute stays on track and asks him straight out what's going on. This leaves Red looking thoughtful, curious to know why they're sending them to the academy. GT reveals it's a good way to help them reach their goals, but Yorm's not interested in school. He just wants to fight tough people and wonders if there are any at the academy. Our kid confirms that the world's elite should join that academy, and even though they're kids, she's a kid too, you know? Fed up, she confronts him, daring him to a fight. The red dragon already knows it's a monster, but she wants to know just how powerful it really is. The only way it'll follow her is if she can make it respect her overwhelming strength. After a minute's thought, Height rejects the offer and tells him to go back and eat, a response that really riles her up. She calls him boring and gives him the finger like a rebellious kid. Instead, the little brat approaches him, offering a bite of delicious chicken to calm his anger. Despite Yorm's refusal, he puts it in his mouth and realizes how incredible it tastes. Let's get a closer look and focus in on the Hayden Academy of Lair. It's a top-shelf educational institution on the Island of Plenty. In other words, hating on them, the academy allows superhumans to be bred and educated, a special place for those born with powers. However, the cadets who attend the academy are from high executive families, royal households, and even genius talent dynasties. This is one of the main reasons why the academy gets slammed for having a hierarchy system that only caters to the elite few. Anyway, Gale and Bahum spend their first day at the academy, finding it a truly awesome experience. Gale thinks his guardian is some rich kid's plaything. That's why he let them blow that cash. But Bahum's old enough to know is not the case. The good thing is that the three of them managed to get in. Lachiclet's thrilled to be there hanging out with the others. What's bugging him is why Yora and Yaidar MIA. Baum recalls that the Red Dragon is heading to the Blue Dragon School for exams, and he's tagging along to accompany her. It's high time the grown-ups kept a watchful eye on their mini-mess at the academy. This is to prevent the spoiled and undisciplined superhumans from causing chaos, and when it comes to the Red Dragon, it's a ticking time bomb that can pose a threat. Baum also explains that Orium's test is necessary for her to earn the right to challenge other cadets, which fills Gall with excitement. Kid. She's been looking forward to seeing their fight, but Jute already shot down the idea, crushing the kid's spirits. Baum reveals it'd be weird to go together, since they're already watching us. We made it to the Blue Dragon School's arena. Here, the cadets face off in 4 different arenas. Our kid looks awesome while chilling calmly from the bleachers. The examiner tells the supervisors to keep it cool, because they're freaking out the other cadets. This person formally introduces himself as the headmaster of the Blue Dragon School, WY1. Everyone's impressed by his dignified appearance and polite demeanor, but height seems tight-lipped, hinting that there's something off about this guy. Listen up for Jorm's announcement, who steps into the arena, hoping it's worth the hype. He's going head-to-head with the blonde firecracker with a look that screams, "Don't mess with me." Before the fight, several rowdy fans in the stands are placing bets on both sides. Some are fascinated by her looks, but everyone believes Sofia Vorkova will take the win. She's got enough real experience under her belt after all. It's a Russian Special Forces unit that played a major role in the Great War. I'm seeing things, our truck Kun also appeared from Isekai in this world. Despite this, the group is notorious for its brutal training methods. Sophia's supervisor is her father, who's constantly reminding her of everyone's expectations. He wants her to win, but it all seems really cringy to her. Provoking her, our tough girl calls her daddy's girl, trying to get her mad and quit, but this doesn't seem to faze the woman in front of her. The onlookers start thinking the two girls are a couple of lunatics, while our guy remains cool and calm. The fighters gear up, Sophia with her fists and Hodem with his sword. The fight starts, and in that split second, Sophia teleports at an insane speed to land the first hit. Hodem barely blocks the attack just in time. She counters with a diagonal slash, forcing Sophia to duck and leaving an opening. Seizing the opportunity, the skilled fighter unleashes a swift side kick at Orium. Now Orium's really fired up, still getting used to this get up, but Sophia's not done yet. Taking a bold step, she teleports back again like she's got Ultra Instinct on lock. This time, there's an epic exchange between the two fighters. Using the cage to her advantage, the Red Dragon leaps at her to gain momentum. The two fighters face off head-on, with Yoram looking more savage than ever. Sophia's reckless attack leaves her reeling, forcing her to block it at a steep price. His forearm bones snap, causing him immense pain. The Red Dragon knows he's got the upper hand, so he teleports in right then, lining up a finishing blow with the rear kick. Joram reminds his prey that he's been playing with her, and with that, he unleashes a crushing blow that sends her crashing into the cage. Sophia coughs up blood, almost passing out from the impact. The fight's over, with Red owning his opponent with his blade. Yorwin basically low-key claps back at him in a pretty easy burn. He's ghosting, thinking those Academy elites are just a bunch of scrubbers. The viewers are shook watching Sophia get roasted in front of their eyes. As for his opponent, Yorm didn't even get a scratch. He's just been messing around with his food this whole time. Some think Sophia's a pushover, while others believe the redhead's a total wild card. Some are already thinking Sophia's just a spoiled brat who's probably not even the real deal. The crowd's reaction is starting to get under her skin. Luckily, the nurse has patched up her immediate wounds, but Sophia's arms are a mess and will need some TLC. Frustrated, the girl clenches her fist, insisting she's good. Her old man knows what's up and tells her he gave it his all. It's not the outcome they were hoping for, but she'd never stand a chance against her opponent in her current state. He reminds her that he's not even disappointed, but this crazy girl just seems to be staring at her knife. While he's still spewing motivational nonsense, the nurse tells him his daughter is heading in the opposite direction. Safi is psycho, thinking the fight's far from over, even after her announced loss, and this time she's gonna put some humanity into the blade. Just as Hurim is about to bail, she yells out, and then she's on him like a wild animal, stabbing him in the back. As she makes this move, Height looks utterly unfazed. The red dragon was suddenly attacked, while Sophia showed a total intent to kill. This is a major upset that surprises not only the audience, but also Wei Yuan, the main professor. Height looks visibly irked. Watch how Sophia drives a blade into her back until they clash outside the arena. By the way, it went all the way to Georgium's side. Now he's really thinking about putting this brawl 6 feet under. But that's not all. Sophie is back on the attack with a thirst for blood, trying to take her down. Despite her condition, Yorm dodges the blow and grabs her hair to pull her back. This time, Yorm's dead set on taking her down. The first blow leaves her out of commission, and then it turns into a slaughter. Yorm keeps pounding her face, drawing blood with each blow as the audience watches in terror. Her final blow sends her crashing to the stands. Now Sophia looks completely finished off. The girl was left a total mess, but the red dragon's still not done yet. She draws her sword from her back and advances with an even more terrifying thirst for blood, emphasizing that she's going to return the favor. But just as he's about to stab Sophia, her father intervenes. Joram demands they let her go, and only then does this indulgent professor decide to use a mage to create a wormhole. You could have waited that long to intervene, you bloody teacher. The mages quickly create a barrier space that encloses Yoram and Sophia's dad. She drops the gun, creaking at the injustice of them only coming after her. Actually, Yoram's right. Sophia was the one who wanted to take her down and even stabbed her first. But her dad claims he could have just knocked her out instead. I could have done that. The redhead is fuming because instead of owning up to his daughter's actions, he's over here giving her a lecture. Wong enters the room, asking everyone to calm down. He tells Orium they've sent someone to fetch her guardian so they can attend to her ASAP. Even though he's the professor, Yorm yells at him for handling the situation too calmly. Oyuan gives her credit and understands what happened, but her priority is to prevent her from causing a bigger catastrophe. The thing is, if Yorm oversteps, it'll come back to haunt the whole Yu family. This cunning professor menacingly implies that the entire Yu family could lose their academic standing. Aeon's condescending monologue is interrupted by Jute, who's basically his bodyguard. He's got his eyes on Weon for cornering a wounded kid. Negative. You guys. But every time this guy does something, he always earns my respect. Both of them are speechless, with tears showing frustration and disappointment. In the next scene, we arrive at Weon's office. Chite sitting face to face with Sophia's dad as the principal serves him tea. The principal's first impression of this guy is pretty shady. First, only the strongest can enter the overlap zone, but this guy's a total enigma. There's no record of him, so Wei 1 is interested in investigating his identity later on. The discussion starts off with both sides visibly at odds. Wei 1 apologizes for what happened. Sophia looks like a bloody octopus. Our favorite tomboy gave it a fresh new look. Yoren got cleared after recovering, so Wei 1 thinks there's no need to make a big fuss. They'll inevitably cross paths again at Dragon Blue School, so it's best they kiss and make up now. Sophia's dad is offering an apology on her behalf. Mikhailov responsibly calls out his daughter's immaturity for letting her emotions get the better of her. Any common hero would accept this apology, but this guy, he's the best, so he tells him to screw off. The geek clarifies that Sophia's dad wasn't even involved, so it's pointless for him to say anything. But Mikhailov's pushing them to negotiate and let it slide. Chite responds calmly, emphasizing that they're not in the same position, and now he wonders if this is how these hardheads ask for forgiveness. Mikhailov yells at him for suggesting he should make Sophia apologize. Any common schmuck would show some mercy, but this guy's saying yes, no matter how she's been hurt. Weon realizes the situation's still off the rails, but Jute claims he's here for a different reason. He's curious why Mejelov didn't intervene when he saw his daughter running towards Iorium with the knife. The Russian says it was too sudden, but Jute calls it a lame excuse. He's wondering if Sophia's dad is feeling embarrassed about his lack of accountability, given he clearly could have stepped in. Mejelov throws diplomacy out the window and grabs Height by the throat. This guy's got the nerve to call Height a nameless family member, not knowing a leaf is literally hanging from his neck. The muscle-bound guy realizes he's been outdone. Height nonchalantly points out how loose the scabbard of the knife is, allowing the kid to grab it without him noticing. But what really has Michelov stumped is how they swiped his knife, making a subtle reminder, a warning, a genuine threat. Death appears behind him, waiting for Michalov to steer clear of dead-end alleys. Jute wraps it up, leaving Weewin thoroughly impressed in one sitting. As he's leaving, he catches a glimpse of the redhead scowling. She tells him she's fine. It's tough to kill red dragons, so her resistance really came in handy. Ahite's glad to hear that, but something's bugging her after rethinking her moves. She wants to know if she made the wrong call, feeling the weight of guilt on her shoulders. That makes her feel bad and even pushes her to be the bigger person next time. To her surprise, Jite emphasizes that he did exceptionally well. To be honest, he even advises her to take it out next time without witnesses. This guy is a bigger psycho than his own dragon daughters. He's walking away with that, earning her admiration. She's hoping he won't yell at her if it really happens later on. As they walk down the hallway, Jite tells his troublesome daughter to pack her stuff as soon as she gets home. She's curious about where they're headed, but he explains that she'll be living in the dorms from now on. She gets that part, knowing the little one will be stoked with this outcome. As they leave, the headmaster calls them over to have a word. He wants to talk to Yute privately, but this guy is short on time and not in the mood to communicate. The principal understands this, but insists on a matter concerning Yorm's future. Honestly, not even she wants to be near this guy. Yuan patiently clarifies that she has a huge opportunity coming her way. The thing is, why Yuan wants her to be the freshman representative of the Blue Dragon School. She describes how it would be to be the face of the academy, with the scholarship and other perks, plus doing interviews in the media, and being the freshman rep for the Blue Dragon School. She questions the sudden offer because it's a lot of perks being thrown at her. The main professor assures that it's possible, since he's a close friend of Vice Principal Ma Namjoon. As Jite's mentor, the professor advises him to carefully consider this opportunity, since he won't find something like this anywhere else. As for his claims about being buddies with Namjoon, it checks out. The ugly truth is that both this professor and that piece of crap Namjoon are demonic humans hiding in plain sight. Let's talk about these demonic humans and their nature. These guys are the antithesis to the superhumans who carry blessings. Instead, they draw their strength from the void, which drives them to a blind rage and a pointless attempt to slaughter other humans. They also tap into other vices like lust, and it's these demonic humans who are behind a massive catastrophe in the world. Height's part of that tragedy, because in his first 2 cycles of regression, he lost something valuable to them. That's why Jutai feels so much hatred towards that guy. He wouldn't hesitate to spill his blood. His self-control is so strong that he's been able to keep his cool around him, all while waiting for the perfect moment to crush Wei Yuan's spirit before taking him down. Getting back to the point, the Guardian asks his daughter what she thinks about the proposal. The professor gets it in, lets the kid call the shots. He's promising Yorn the right perks, guaranteeing a fresh new vibe for the school. He wants her to embody that change at the year-end event. Wei Yuan is doing everything he can to get this girl to crack, but the redhead is having none of it. The kid is really confused because this is like turning down a Harvard offer. Jorm confirms he's not interested in the offer and insists they head back home to pack up their stuff. Confused, Wei Yuan asks why he even bothered showing up for the interview. The redhead shares that at first she was in bed, but then got bored and decided to throw down with someone. That's all she wrote. That's the only reason she's here. Her response is so provocative that even the demonic human is thinking of ending her existence. Suddenly, his eyes shift towards the window, and he tells Yuri Jam to look down. There's a whole crew of reporters lined up outside waiting to get Wei Yuan's take. He's basically the one calling the shots, deciding her fate. His words will be the official image to the world, and his life will be ruled by them. It's a real threat, but this girl isn't having it. She just gives him the finger and walks off with her dad. It's gonna be a real embarrassment for the headmaster, and he's probably gonna regret his decision. As for the reporters, Yorm steps out and is instantly swarmed by the crowd. Everyone's begging to hear her take on the fight and her feelings towards her opponent. With so many cameras focused on her face, Yorm feels like the main event. With so many cameras focused on her face, Yorm feels overwhelmed, while our guy is trolling everyone from behind. A reporter reveals that Yorm's interview is going viral on social media, leaving everyone wondering if she intentionally went off the rails to get the world's attention. They're all piling on with more and more questions. Playing Guardian, knowing she's about to crack, Git tells the reporters to leave the wounded kid alone, but Yorm's ready to give them what they want. She takes the microphone, brings it to her mouth, and makes a face before screaming sex on the big screen. In the next scene, we're heading to the dorms at Lair Academy. She's over the moon, basically they're offering her a mansion. As the youngest and most mischievous, Gaul sprints to find her room. She opens one and loves the cozy space. This room looks like a high-end Airbnb. Gaul's dancing around everywhere, enjoying the new digs and staking her claim. But her big sis shows up quick and tells her she's gonna jack her room. The little one's salty because she found it first and this one isn't even the biggest. In the end, Gale throws in the towel and offers the space to her big sister, much to her dismay. As for the elder dragon, she's busy tending to the blue egg that hasn't hatched yet. She even takes it as a baby while Jai questions her intentions to water it. Baum explains this because blue dragons love water, and near hatching, the polymorph turns into a perfect egg. Apart from that, Baum points out how the academy is flooded with Yorm's viral moment. His live interview is streaming on YouTube, and the commentators are enjoying the show. Height replays the recording where he says the naughty word, forcing Baum to cover the little one's ears. Meanwhile, Yorm has no idea why it's such a big deal. It's just a natural process after all. The little one, on the other hand, has no clue what's going on. Her older sister is curious if Gale is genuinely interested. This is her chance to educate the little one about birds and bees. At that moment, the golden dragon realizes what's about to happen. Embarrassed, she rejects the explanation, thinking she doesn't need to know that much. But this red dragon goofball only confuses her more. She's stoked to dish on all the nitty-gritty details, to the point where she's grabbing Gaul's arms to keep him from plugging his ears. The poor kid complains and asks Geek to intervene while he's zoning out on them. The next morning, Yorm's fast asleep, living her best dream. Gaul sprints upstairs, bursting through the door to rouse her with a major crisis. The redhead can't even get up because she was wide awake all night. When Guile asks what she was up to, the troll queen nonchalantly replies she was binge-watching Korn Absolute Cinema. They're heading down to handle some pressing business. Jorm thinks it's a joke at first, but then sees everyone's already here. Bahoma briefs Jorm on the incubation phase of Guile. She's shaking and cracks start to show, marking a pivotal moment for her family. It's been a while since Height witnessed a new life unfolding before his eyes. Her previous experience wasn't as sweet and chill as this one. In the midst of a devastated world, a woman begged them to save her kid. Height's subordinate thought it was too late since the kid had died at birth. Unfortunately, society had imploded and there were no hospitals around. There was no place on Earth that could have saved him in time. This memory still haunts Height as one of the most unsettling experiences. And at some point, he thought he'd never relive them, wondering why now. Jorm's the first to spot a tiny blue limb poking out of the egg. The little dragon appears looking like the sweetest snot-nosed kid in the world. Congrats to Gale on the hatch and a quick cleanup afterwards. Height notes her calm reaction while handling the little one, so he asks her where she got the experience. It turns out his mom used to do the same thing, and he offers to hold the baby, but he refuses. Gale, on the other hand, dies from holding the little one, so Bomb passes it to her, telling her to handle it with care. Gold and Blue warmly hug each other, enjoying every second. Sizing up the opportunity to get back at Jorm, Gale says the red dragon wants in on the action too. She tosses the little one straight into his arms, forcing Jorm to catch it. The little one melts into a dream in Jorm's arms, looking like a total sweetheart. Even the troll admits the baby's cute, and he's badgering the guardian to give it a shot or the baby's gonna get bummed. The redhead goaded this guy, calling him a reckless wannabe, so to force him to catch it, she's got the harebrained plan to toss the damned baby. Even Gale is worried that this crazy idiot might toss a newborn. Here, Yorm lays out his mission, one he decided on the moment he stepped into his new place. His mission is to push this guy to his limits, get him panicked, and with that stupid plan try to toss Gel. But before he can even look, Bro shows up behind her and snatches the baby, and does it without breaking a sweat. This guy's a pro at playing it cool. Baum thinks it's a good chance for Jutei to get some quality time with the baby dragon now that he's got him in his grasp. Following his words, he gently places 2 fingers on the baby's head, wondering if he's doing it right. Gale snaps a pic with her smartwatch, knowing she won't get another shot at it. Speaking of pics, Bahum suggests they snap one together with the flower. She's gonna use that flower in the pic, which is totally throwing off her sisters. That pesky flower is comically stuck behind Jait's ear to match Giles' blue. They're adorable like this. The other 3 dragons are busy with the moment. Jite's a bit miffed and asks them to hurry up for the photo. Yorm tries to act like a spoiled brat who's uncomfortable taking photos. In the end, she agrees, and Guile is the one who sets the timer for the selfie. The photo is quite nice, showing Geek being himself and the rest of the sisters showcasing their personalities. After the session, they fuel up Little Ghoul for the next phase. Height asks Bone what's on his agenda. Apparently, his goal is to help Goal learn to polymorph through magical transfer. Man, let's get into the magic transfer. It's a process that involves the flow of mana between 2 individuals, a more straightforward way to teach a spell. Normally, the person learning doesn't have to give up a payoff, but it takes a toll on the one transferring the technique, so Jute is cautious about risking her life for this. Unfortunately, they can't just leave Gile hanging like that forever. Back home, Korn, Gale, and she learned to polymorph together, a stark contrast to the Blue Dragon's experience, who hasn't learned a thing. Dragons grow fast. That's why he wants the little one to experience real joy before getting too big. Following his plans, Jite tells her he's down to lend a hand if needed, and she's surprised he's got magic chops too. Aside from the magical transfer, he's got a personal request. Bam wants him to stick by her side when she initiates the transfer process. He accepts her request, but she's a wild card and wants him to get closer. Jitty thinks it's not necessary for him to be that close, but she's dead serious that he needs to be right there in case he trips and takes the kid down with him. I mean, the girl is basically trash-talking someone who's been dominating all their opponents. Bomb's adorable excuses manage to wear down Jite's defenses, and in the end, he throws in the towel. Now he's sitting next to her, his shoulders touching hers. She admits how tight her muscles feel, but suddenly changes the subject when he confronts her. This girl is totally head over heels for him. Lost in her feelings, she initiates the transfer process with Gale hooking up their bodies. Days go by, Bomb's exhausted as the process wraps up. She thanks him for his help and plans to take a break, leaving Jite with the baby. In the end, exhaustion gets the best of her and she faceplants. But don't worry, the charming prince is there to catch her in his arms. He's cool with taking her to his room, which only makes Bomb blush more. She thinks it's a bit embarrassing that he's holding her like that, while Jite tells her he's just joking around. He reminds her she's pretty light for someone who's always making fun of how sweet she is. After tucking her in, Jite slips out of her room, closing the door behind him. Suddenly, he feels a presence of Guile and realizes the transformation has already kicked in. When he gets back to the room, there's no baby dragon, but a little blue-haired girl instead. This little girl is just as sweet as her draconic version. It's his first transformation, and this kid has no clue how to handle the situation. She greets him with the simple hello, marking her first conversation. We're back at the precinct where his doppelganger is on shift, handling his first solo case. It turns out his clone is taking down bad guys solo, giving his department a good rep. The captain is thrilled to invite both of you to lunch, as it's a great opportunity. Worry reminds him he's paying with the company card, which makes him laugh. As always, our laid-back king shoots down the offer, thinking he's got other plans. His friends have no idea why he's leaving so early, always heading home after work. They start wondering if he's got a secret girlfriend, but he denies any possibility. Said that, he leaves while his friends are calling out to him. Next, we see an interaction between a black-haired girl and Height. The clone perfectly mimics the girl's appearance, but it's crucial to discuss how Jite got the lowdown. Back in the day, this power belonged to the big cheese of the demon world, who used it to butter up the kingdom. But just after taking out the big cheese, Jite became the new carrier of the power. Now, his clone can't perfectly mimic anyone just by looking at them. He had to cop a new look since he ran into his OG in a public spot. Even the clone is caught off guard by the sight of a baby strapped to his master's chest, who's just finished cutting his hair. The people around them are calling them a couple because they've got a baby that's so cute. The clone even offers to carry the little one at his master's insistence, but baby Guile seems put off by the suggestion, leaving the clone confused. Shoot's cool with carrying her and shows how this little killing machine can walk on her own. The clone is curious why he brought this kid out, especially with 3 dragons at home. The thing is, Bomb's out cold after pushing himself too hard. Those other 2 are so reckless, you can't even trust them to watch your back. Git asks about the purpose of the clone when he shows up, and when he pretends not to get it, he calls him out on the spot. You can even feel the slightest vibe off her, so she's clearly bugged about something. Her shadow's true role in this mission is finally showing his face. With its previous owners, it never got to experience a life like this, a real 9 to 5. They wanted to use the shadow for critical missions, like hits or sending it to remote places where they had to show their authority. But now that height's adapting to his normal life. The shadow doesn't seem to get how it fits in. Even apologizes for expressing his feelings. Although our kid gets what he's feeling. The shadow is a being with his own mind, but his master has a crucial mission in the future. For now, he wants the clone to stay put, and also wants him to grab a drink with his crew, just like they suggested before. After all, there will come a time when the shadow won't be able to see them anymore. With those instructions, head back to the office. Chute suddenly develops a thing for the mom who just bought her daughter a teddy bear. That little panda catches little Jahom's eye. It's clear she wants it too, and Dad can see it here. He asks if she wants one and pulls out a stuffed bear from his inventory. Unfortunately, it looks nothing like a panda, but he hands it over anyway. She falls head over heels for that first sight, adoring her gift. She even asks if he likes it, to which she leaves the bear and starts walking towards the adult. She reaches up to him, wondering if this is her way of asking for more. She actually grabs his face and presses her head against his. It could be the most tender moment in the story so far. This could be the most tender moment in the story so far. Our kid is totally floored by his intentions and is wondering what's going on. It's an action that reminds him of the magical bomb transfer technique. Heath quickly realizes the dragons could use this technique to show affection. All his traumatic memories from 6 tragic lives come flooding back into his mind. He faced down demons and a horde of dragons, losing a lot in the process, even flipping the regression axis again to risk it all over again. It looks like Jill's touch must have connected with his mind for a sec. And to his surprise, Chute's finally cracking a genuine smile. Hand in hand, they stroll through the park. Jete looks up at the sky, mumbling that someone's already on their way. The little Gale finds them in the park and greets the lovely Gale in her human form. When both touch their heads for that airdrop connection, Gale feels how happy the little one is after receiving a gift from Jite. Apparently, dragons can read minds pretty well. Desiring skin contact is a way of showing affection for them. That's why the sweet marshmallow did that with Jitty. It's something they never learned before. Suddenly, she notices something behind her. Gale realizes she's talking about her case and pulls out her new acoustic guitar. That's her way of showing her feelings without having to get all up in someone else's skin. Even makes her feel like a classy musician, totally in line with her personality. The golden dragoness wants to give her all, but the same guitar brings back some seriously heavy, sad memories. She was once found with the guitar in shambles and herself lost in self-destruction. She looked like a hot mess back then, so she's freaking out about what's coming next. This time, Jet reminds her not to get too worked up. The golden dragon is upset, but thinks it's better to keep things in check despite her feelings. Jet then asks about Bam to see how she's doing, and finds out she's still sleeping off the fever. That part can't be avoided much by the transfer process. As for Yorm, he also checks in on her and finds out she's a total drama queen, stuck at home watching TV alone. It's wild that you found a new interest beyond pointless brawling for once. It's a good development in the eyes of our kid. They're finally heading back home. He's got a seriously ominous vibe going on in an instant. The golden dragon is going to see Bam, but he stops him, ordering Gaul to secure his sister in the fourth without explaining why, adopting a terrifying tone. He won't let her out until he says so. He doesn't even bother explaining why, speaking in a menacing tone. The golden dragon nods and takes the blue dragon away. Now that he's solo, he cracks open the Bam door. There, he finds 4 different entities lurking around him. These people are furious because Bam's been brought down to this level. Her first assumption is to confront Jite with anger, questioning if he's the culprit. Let's get a handle on what these creatures are. Dragons have their own minions, allowing them to control a handful of monsters and humans through their magic. Then, they turn these servants into loyal knights and slaves to protect their home. Even among these guardians, there are elites who have served newborn dragons. It seems Jute figures out they put a sleeping spell on her. The guardian growls, demanding an answer. Jute doesn't care and thinks they should at least show some respect, treating them like a joke. The guardian decides to show the human his terror, thinking only the strong should ask questions. using a move called Dark Clarity to take Jute down with one hit. You can tell they've got a top-notch shield up already. The Guardian gives a final warning, questioning what the human did with the green dragon, demanding an answer. Height responds calmly about the blue dragon's hatching, and that's why she burned her own energy in the magical transfer process. Satisfied, the Guardian asks about the human's ID. Height sarcastically refers to himself as a Guardian, a tongue-in-cheek jab at the real deal. They're wondering if he's got their backs, and Height confirms. His only question is, why and how did they get here so fast? According to him, these dudes should be stuck in a dimension. Feeling this too hazardous for a human, they raise their arms to face him in battle, presenting themselves as the guardians and custodians of a causal history. They know he's babysitting, but from their POV, Height needs to be purged because he's destined to cause trouble down the line. Our kid gives them a chance to talk, but they're already coming at him from all sides. The Guardian comes at our kid, but he dodges it quick. The Guardian can't believe a lowly human managed to block his bullwhip that easily. Then Jite jumps in and takes him down with a single hit, which is a major embarrassment for him. The other Guardian is dead set on taking down this human, but the one who got knocked out is trying to warn him that this human is a whole lot tougher than they thought. And no matter what they do, they're gonna get their asses kicked. In the end, our kid takes down all the Guardians. The main Guardian realizes he sensed something off about this human, someone who was watching them while they were with the young dragons, and should have known it when he started to doubt. He soon realizes this guy's a game changer you can't mess with. Our kid stands over the Guardian, reminding him they should have talked, then asks how they survived if there was a dimension issue. The Guardian reveals it was due to a dimensional shift and his lord opened the dimension that connected the nest to this world. Without them knowing, the dimension got warped and it got booted out of dimensional bounds. He explains that he doesn't know much about it, but his lord mentions something called the Providence Threshold. What he does know is that the dimensional shift happens because of the Providence Horizon's derived power, and other dimensions started warping around him. This sounds weird for our kid because in previous regressions there were no such explanations, and he'd never heard these concepts, but now that he thinks about it, this time is notably different from the others. This is the first time he's seen the Green Dragon Guardians coming after him. He asks what the Providence Horizon has to do with his arrival, wondering if that concept gave them a clue. They respond that the will beyond that concept guided them in a direction, and when he followed that path with the other Guardians, he found the location where the young dragons were. Our kid makes the Guardian lock eyes with him and uses his skill, Balance of Scales Gaze, which tells him if the Guardian's telling the truth or spinning a yarn. It turns out he's been telling the truth. He's relieved since he's dealt with everything that could threaten the world, and also inspected multiple dimensions, which worries him because something unknown is popping up again. The Guardian speaks again about the will beyond the horizon, which sounded very dissatisfied, probably because it has a core created from the power of the Green Dragon. Suddenly, our kid opens his shirt and sees the big clock, which identifies the twisted flow of time and is known as a power to be reckoned with. He's got it in his hands, thinking it's always been stationary except when he came back, but now it started to meddle. But he can't do much about it, except wait for the ride to pass. The Guardian wonders what he should do now, to which our kid says that since he's already taken care of all the dragons, he really doesn't have a job for him. So he just lets them go as long as they don't cause any trouble. As they're leaving, one of the guards says he can't go and the kid clocks him. No matter how hard he tries to make him leave, his answer doesn't budge. His buddies are calling him a knucklehead, saying he can't even take a break when it's handed to him on a silver platter. Our kid looks at him and realizes this person is cut out to be a babysitter. He raises his sword and kills all the other guards, except the one who refused to leave. The Guardian wonders if our hero was testing them, to which our kid responds that he just found him off the chain. What's the big deal about green dragons? The Guardian responds that he hasn't lost his loyalty to them. When our kid tries to explain he's got the green dragons covered, the guard refuses to listen, so he hands him a contract to sign now. He's introducing the girls to the new janitor he just hired. While washing dishes, he's also getting his kicks. When they assigned him to that position, he got confused because being a janitor has nothing to do with guarding dragons, which is a tough pill to swallow. So if he doesn't get the job done, he'll make sure he serves his purpose. Now the janitor is wondering how he ended up being a dishwasher. As he's washing the dishes, Yubam appears and asks if he's the guardian of Ascalifa. He's surprised to see her because she wasn't looking good before. She tells him that the apron suits him well and that she hopes to work with him, which makes him blush. After hearing her words, he gets motivated to take care of her. He accidentally breaks a pricey plate in her hand. On the other hand, Gyul is gearing up with the help of Guile and Yubeon. They both find her clothes very cute and the little girl approves because she can't stop smiling. Yubum turns to the doorman, asking what he likes to wear. While he's sweeping the floor, he admits that he likes all the clothes because they fit Guile perfectly. Gid is sitting on the couch watching them. She takes a closer look at Guile and notices that his fingers seem injured and continues playing the guitar, which worries her. Yubam tries to calm him down and tells him not to be so harsh on her. And Jite explains that he didn't mean it harshly. He changes the subject and says he hasn't seen Uorim in a while. The janitor explains he went to clean his room, but they told him to scram. He's a bit worried about her because she looked pretty rough. It's possible she hasn't slept at all, so Jite decides to pay her a visit. In her room, when he visits, Uorim wonders why he came to check if she's still alive. She's watching TV and sees a show, and she asks him if he's seen it before. He hasn't seen it before. He didn't tell her the show has 7 seasons, the plot's a total mess, and the historical accuracy is straight up trash. He just tells her to stop watching and asks her to leave because he has something to tell her. As they leave, he says they're going to deep clean the house today, which catches the 3 girls off guard. He explains that although they're not human, they should live like it while they're on Earth, pointing out Orium and Gale in particular for being the messiest. As soon as he hears that, Gale blows up, asking why he busted into his room without an invite. He te hace burla diciendo tu mamá también debería haber enseñado a limpiar tu cuarto, why ella sí infida. Then he tells them not to worry about the living room and kitchen, just clean their own rooms for now. Uorim gets mad because they have a janitor for a reason, so why should they clean? As he says this, he wipes his nose. Gale's grossed out by her, and Uorim blows his nose on her and walks out, saying Gale should clean her 4th floor if she hates dirty stuff. Before leaving, he tells the janitor to clean his 4th floor and that he's off to the gym and that when he gets back, he'll be inspecting it. Yubam gets up to grab groceries for dinner, since he cleaned his 4th floor yesterday. Hid is worried sick about the dinner Yubam's gonna whip up. She asks if there's a specific dish he's in the mood for, but he just tells her to have a good trip to the supermarket. Meanwhile, the concierge bursts into Uorim's room and is a total mess. He's wondering how, even without a nose, he can smell some weird stench like from the underworld. But worse, he picks up a bunch of cigarettes and realizes that's why he wasn't looking so hot before. He's probably trying to build up a tolerance to the poison with the cigarettes. As he starts picking up the trash, Maxim shows up and tells him that cans and plastics need to be sorted before getting tossed. Maxim wonders if the janitor doesn't know the basics of cleaning, questioning if there's no concept of recycling in Ascalifa. This statement makes the janitor feel like he can tap into the dark world's energy, wondering if he's a clone. Maxim tells him to step it up. Pronto. Suddenly, Yite shows up asking what they're up to. Maxim turns to him and says the janitor wasn't doing his job right, was leading him on. The coat type is Maxim from the demon world, who's used to humiliating those without power when they misbehave. Jute tells them both to clean up. It'd be a real pain for the janitor to do it alone. Meanwhile, the girls are cleaning their rooms. After that, they hand Maxim a map of Moscow, Russia, telling him to go there because a demonic human organization called Invisibility is investigating a transcendent human demon type. He tells him to wrap up his job in a week and then get to Russia. Once he arrives, he needs to find the top-tier human demon, Commander Prototype X, and Maxim is down with that plan. At that moment, Yubam heads back home with a ton of groceries because he's got to feed a whole crew and whip up some grub. When Maxim starts to leave because Yubam is back, Jite stops him saying he needs to change clothes with him. A little while later, the food's ready and the girls are enjoying it. Gale wishes the janitor could chow down with them, but Yuri Jam says he's not even got a mouth to eat with. Meanwhile, Yu's worried about the grub they've served him. Maxim is surrounded by many dead men on the ground, beaten to death. A guy nailed to the wall by his hands is screaming at him, calling him a piece of trash and a worthless human being. He'd be begging on his knees if he knew who was backing him up. Maxim cuts him off at the arms. He knows him well and is talking about a Blue Dragon school teacher. Wei Yuan, or should call him a human demon affiliated with invisibility. He asks if he's cooking something, and if so, what's the plan? He also tells him that his lies won't work, so he needs to spill the truth right away while using his ability called Balanced Scale Sight. The man starts talking, saying he doesn't know many details, but in 3 months, if he's successful, he might even get a seat. Maxim doesn't get it and asks if he's talking about the seats, aka the demonic human reps known as the seats in the organization's lingo. The seats are what they call the 4 demonic human elites of the organization. Invisibility. Typically, the demonic humans operate in decentralized structures, but those who rise to the seats can have their own legions. They end up with the same level of power as the disaster levels, which is the highest rank among the demonic humans. Is weird for Max, since Weewan never wanted to sit in on any of the previous rounds and shouldn't have the juice to plan anything right now. Then he sees a massive clock measuring the malice sent from beyond the horizon of Providence, searching for a being who has strayed from the world's timeline, and his target is the human demon Wei Yuan. Because someone from outside the world's timeline, harboring discontent with regression, has interfered, and Wei Yuan exists with the best elements from past rounds. Having strayed from the repeated regression flow, he realizes he can mess with everything related to him from a distance because it was meant for the Guardians, and now is Wei Yuan. The guy with the chopped arms says he can get him more info if he spares his life, cause his sick mom's waiting back home. He begs him not to betray him, but before he can finish his sentence, Maxim cuts his head off. Maxim nods, saying that even the truth wouldn't have saved him anyway. He'd have been dead anyway, even if he was telling the truth. He snaps his fingers and wreaks havoc all over the place. Back to our protagonist. He walks outside, wondering if the plan would have allowed Wu Yuan to scale up to the seats big time. This makes him think it might be connected to the hideout. Remember what Wei Yuan told Yorm about the year-end event? He's got a hunch it's connected to his scheme. Her attention shifts to a woman who stops next to Yule, saying the baby is cute and she's never seen a baby as adorable. The 2 women are totally stoked about the little girl. Our guy jumps in and asks the ladies straight up if they're connected to the kid, and both of them freak out. Then he sits down with U-Bomb, who asks him why he hadn't seen him all day and asks where he's been, giving him the cold shoulder. He has some business to attend to and asks what she's doing there with the baby. She admits she couldn't spend much time with her because she was sick, and with the start of classes, she thought she'd be too busy in the future. After a moment of silence, Yu-Beon thinks sitting in a park like this makes them look like a family, which catches them off guard. She keeps saying it looks like the kid's her daughter and she's the mom, making them a couple, but they both stay tight-lipped. She starts laughing and assures him that she was just joking and there's no need to get serious. He ignores her and says if she's going to act weird, they should just go home. Then they head home with the baby in tow. School started and the girls are stoked to be taking some classes together. U-Bomb's gonna be studying human studies, lit, magic studies, and sociology. She's wondering why Gail always has a piece of toast in her mouth if she already ate breakfast at home. Gail reveals that her mom told her that if she meets someone with a piece of toast in their mouth, that person will be her partner, and that's how she'll meet her partner someday. Suddenly, she collides with Yorm, who starts mocking Gail, saying she's now destined to be his partner, which makes her cry because she's clearly not gay. Yorm starts flirting with her, saying he saw an American drama where girls do all sorts of things with each other while he steals the toast. Then, Yorm wonders where Yuta is since she promised to come watch his class. U-Bomb clarifies that he's only swinging by the academic affairs office to touch base on some loose ends. Instantly, Yorm says he's usually not home, making her wonder if he's out with some girl or whatever, sucking up to Yuveon. Then they spot some people who appear to be reporters, maybe there to scoop out some standout new students. When the reporters see the girls walk in, they turn to them thinking they're the students who took down Sophia, specifically her fiery redhead. The lights and reporters surround her quickly, and she feels overwhelmed. In the next instant, she yells loudly for them to shut up, so she decides to take them on one by one, since her previous answers weren't enough for them. On his way back home, Git instructs the doorman to watch the kid because the kids are at school and he won't be home either. After he leaves, the janitor thinks he wasn't expecting to be handed a tougher task than just cleaning, since he's never taken care of a kid in his life. Then he talks to Jel, telling her to stop waiting and get some rest in a comfy spot because the ladies and the owner won't be back till the afternoon. After hearing him out, she goes back to playing, making him feel super awkward. He decides to clean up again, but then he spots a picture book and asks the baby if he'd like to read it with him. They both sit on the rug reading the book. He feels relieved that the baby's into books and starts reading to her. The book's title is My Dad's a Fairy. The story starts in a deep forest, which makes him think that if it's an ancient forest, it would be the primordial forest before the era of demons. Heading back to where? Tell him where Dolson and his old man were living. He starts thinking maybe the mom's dead, considering the kid's lucky, because having a live dad back then was a miracle. Before the kid drifted off to sleep, her old man used to spin her tales of days gone by. The janitor thinks they're war stories, which has him thinking the main character is probably a war zealot. Meanwhile, the baby's all confused. Going back to the story, one morning, Dawson woke up and realized her dad wasn't home, which made her think maybe he went off to find a new mom. Since back then, it was common for dudes to take war spoils as concubines. He's dead sure Dawson's gonna be stoked to have a new mom. Suddenly, he looks at the baby's expression and she seems visibly bummed, making him wonder if she's not feeling the story. She points to a corner and tells him to chill there while she reads the book solo. At school, Yubam can't help but obsess over Yu Ote and his ride or die. So, some high-maintenance heiress named Gongju he steps out of a luxury ride. She's the heiress to one of Korea's top 3 fencing clans, the Gong clan, but her looks mean more to her than her skills. She hates training because sweating ruins her makeup. Her gaze falls on the reporters, and she wonders if they were waiting for her. She orders her secretary Kim to handle the reporters, as she doesn't like the attention they're giving her. He tells her respectfully that the reporters aren't here for her. Instantly, he starts wondering who they're here for, and realizes they're here for Yorm. She can't help but admire how beautiful she is. Meanwhile, Yorm is chilling on some dude's lap, who's basically volunteering to be her throne, and he's totally stoked about it. After that, a reporter asks if they should start the interview, and she tells them to go ahead. If you don't follow the rules, she'll cancel the interview and bail. The rule is 1 question per person. Then she points to a kid with a hat to ask his first question. As he starts introducing himself and saying which channel he's from, she thinks it's way too long and cuts to the next question. How does it feel about that, given his newfound importance in the superhero world? She responds that it's a total nightmare. Then another reporter tells her they recently made a coffee shop for her and asks if she could say a few words to her fans, which reminds her of the kid downstairs. So she jumps to the next question. So, a reporter named Gon Ho from Gazan Daily asks her about the meaning behind what she yelled out in the Dragon Blue School's interview room. She admits everyone already knows what it means and tries to move on, but he insists on asking why she used that exact word and if she had another intention. She gets angry and tells him to stop clinging to his words, to which the reporter responds that that's what reporters do and he seems inexperienced. The reporter manages to rile her up and Gail tries to take her inside. The reporter realizes that if he pushes her further, he'll get something out of it. So he says he'll have to write an article based on what he's seen, as Jorm demands of reporters. Of course, that gets her riled up and she forms a fist, yelling that she'll make sure he gets his comeuppance before he publishes anything like that. But before the fist can land, Jeet intervenes and stops her. He asks calmly if she started trouble and she's furious, yelling that it wasn't her, it was the reporter who started it. So, he lifts her up and drags her towards the school as she yells at him to let her go. He gives the reporters a menacing look and tells them not to publish anything, which is enough to shut them down. Then he tells the girls not to be late on the first day of class. The whole scene is being watched by Yuji, and his secretary wants to figure out which clan that girl belongs to, but Yuji can't help but check out Gail's stats. Something American is about to kick off around here. Later in class, the fencing instructor, Professor Kai, introduces himself, then lectures on the day's lesson, which covers the history of fencing and the mindset of those who wield a sword. Yorin looks visibly annoyed, but this behavior remains unexpected from her part, since Jai thought she'd get bored instantly and leave. He's been through boring dramas for years, so this is small potatoes. The real reason behind his effort is to crack the helmeted shield piece. She's dead set on bringing it to a close herself. She turns to Height, wondering why he's taking the class with her, to which he responds that she knows the real reason all too well. She assures him she's been on her best behavior and hasn't caused any trouble. He reminds her that she literally tried to take a swing at a reporter earlier that day. She immediately defends herself, saying the reporter was still egging her on, and if he were in her shoes, he wouldn't have kept his cool either. As she speaks, she tries to lean on him, and he tells her to back off. With a flirtatious tone, she says guys go crazy after that kind of physical contact, which embarrasses him. He just sits there, unimpressed. He thinks maybe studying gets dull, but she clarifies that's not what she's talking about. She complains that a kidnapper should at least be a little bit interesting. When she first saw him, she expected days filled with adrenaline, but she didn't sign up for a family drama role. According to him, he's walked a long way to school, which is already pretty thrilling. She's furious, saying she meant fighting, killing, and that sort of thing, not some reporter harassing her. Suddenly, Professor Kai appears behind her, saying she seems a bit too high-strung today, and the solution in cases like this is to stick with her right after class. As she arrives home, she's cleaning some swords, and after a bit, tosses one to the floor. She wonders why the housekeeper can't clean it, since she loves cleaning. But the housekeeper is babysitting at home. The redhead is wondering if he ever studied as a young man, to which he admits he didn't have enough time to study properly. She sees it as a total bust and says it sounds like a weak excuse. But he assures her he was right in the thick of a war and too busy trying to stay alive. She's left speechless and wonders if he's mocking her. That leaves her wondering if there's anything fun in her life, and he admits his life isn't exactly a thrill ride. She tells him that if she were as strong as him, she wouldn't be living such a dull life. Then she asks if he lost the excitement by becoming too strong. He responds calmly that life goes on and you have to live it, which seems ridiculously lame to him, and he asks her to keep cleaning up. Later that night, the girls are in the living room with the baby. Yorm's solving a Rubik's Cube while the janitor's cleaning up behind her. She's getting all bent out of shape and tosses the cube right in his face. Bomb realizes Yo's got a bad attitude, probably because she saw the paparazzi earlier. Yorm admits it's partly that and partly a dopamine deficit. Joe calls Bomb by name, making Bomb think she might need to be sectioned. That gets Joe riled up, but he cools down and asks Bomb why he's still kicking. As he hears the question, Bomb turns to the baby thinking he's finally hitting puberty, which he overhears and starts screaming. Then I explain that I asked GT the same question before, and his response was as dull as he looks. Geo thinks humans are here to live it up, and if that's not happening, there's no point to living. Then he points out to Gale, who looks like he's about to die from excitement every time he sees food, and the baby's happy playing with the stuffed bear. That makes Bohm think maybe Jite likes something, but just didn't tell him. I think Bohm and Jite are similar because they're both clueless and super boring. But Bohm says there's one thing he knows. Jitty's a total wallflower. I couldn't believe that, like a psychopath without emotions. Bohm also thought so, until he saw him in the park and smiled thinking about his little reaction. That smile gives Yeho the chills, and he jumps on Baum, thinking they're up to something shady while he's giving him a tickle. Suddenly, Gale bursts in with the scoop that a huge community in Lair is talking about Joe, and now he's got a fan cafe. When he sees Joe over Baum with his hand under Baum's shirt, Gale blushes and takes off running, telling them to keep on doing what they were doing. This really gets the redhead's hackles up because she was definitely not up to anything weird. The next day, when Jeddah is changing, Baum accidentally walks into the room without knocking and sees her without a shirt on. She blushes, but he asks her calmly what she needs, so she hesitantly enters and asks if he could tag along with her today. As he adjusts his tie, he wonders why he'd want to accompany her out of the blue. She explains that he's always hanging out with Joe and Gale, and that he's never even taken her out once. He knows he can't leave the two troublemakers alone, but he lets out a deep sigh. Meanwhile, Gale's mouth is stuffed with food as she tries to ask Gio why he's not going to school. He tells both of them that he's about to ask Judy out on a date, to which the redhead thinks he's probably just going to be her chaperone. In her room, she thinks she's never gone out with Bone, which makes her think he's got a thing for favorites. He tells her it's not the case. Gale says his favoritism is bad, but he gets it because his mom used to know 100 human guys at once, but she always had 2 or 3 that she was more into. I think your mom was pretty wild for that. She's mad at him because he ghosted her first, but he's not even paying attention, and it's exactly like when you catch a fish you just lose interest. So she's the only one who's been left hanging. Then she cries in Gail's arms, calling Jute bad. Geo assures her they won't cause any trouble, and she can hang out with Bohm, because they can't be babysitting them forever. Everyone at school is talking about Geo's older sister, Bohm, saying she's a total knockout and aced the entrance interview. They've heard she's from the Yu family, which isn't exactly a list, making her a bit of a wild card. Our guy is tuning in to all this gossip while sitting right behind those people. The etiquette theory class wraps up, and the rest of the time will be spent practicing for the formal dance. The students think practicing dance is super cringeworthy. The teacher explains that when they become superhumans, they'll eventually have to attend formal events. So they should practice here so they don't cringe when they actually have to show up somewhere. Then the teacher orders everyone to pair up in twos. It turns out Baum gets left high and dry, and everyone thought the guys would step up for her. One of the guys admits she gives off a weird vibe, making it hard to get close to her, and tells his buddy to steer clear of her. The teacher notices Baum's lack of a partner and offers to dance with her, but Baum asks if he can do it with his escort instead. The teacher agrees, and she rushes off to fetch Jite. He admits he can't dance, and she starts emotionally blackmailing him, saying she can't be left alone. So he has no choice and gets up with her. The teacher starts to instruct her. Meanwhile, our guy's feeling cringeworthy about touching her. She calms him down, takes his hand, and tells him that holding hands won't get them emotionally invested, and also warns him not to get too chill or it'll tank his grades. They start dancing, but he's visibly nervous, and even Baum notices his hands are super sweaty. He's visibly on edge, and even Baum notices his hands are super sweaty. When she looks up, he's sweating bullets all over, making her feel awkward on the spot. Suddenly, she trips, but before she falls, he catches her and they lock in a deep, intense gaze. She's blushing so hard her nose is bleeding. Later, he brings her a cold drink and wonders if he should take her to the hospital, while a piece of paper is stuck up her nose. She proudly admits that dragons don't need to go to the hospital and that she's feeling fine now. He's wondering why his nose is bleeding if he didn't even get punched. She blushes with embarrassment, mumbling that she wouldn't know. Then he tells her she dances better than he expected, making her wonder if she learned to dance somewhere before. He's dragged back to a memory where he's dancing with the girl who taught him how to dance. He looks away and lies that he never learned to dance before. Baum gets up from her chair and asks if she's got anything to do after school, and he says no. Then she asks if he wants to do something fun with her, with excitement in her eyes. Meanwhile, in the demonic human organization Invisibility, Moscow, Russia, alarms start blaring at the research facility. A demonic humanoid monster is seen running. She tries to make a break for an inn called HQ, but no matter how fast she runs, she's caught cold by Maxim. She stutters, asking what he wants from her, and he simply admits that his lord is looking for something, followed by the question, "Where's the Transcendental Class Commander Type Ex-Human Demoniac?" She screams that she'd rather die than tell him. Very calmly, Maxim says he's taken out a lot of his own kind, and one thing he learned is that when they are about to die, their true nature starts to show. When the pain gets too intense, their human behavior breaks free, and they start acting like a puppet with their strings cut, doing whatever the other person tells them. Said this, he's got her in a chokehold with his powers in the air. Maxim briefs GTA that Type X has already been used for a demo and sent to the Invisibility HQ, and this time it's a woman, unlike previous regressions, which were all men. Height wonders if the lead researcher they worked with was named Vera, and Max feels the same. After that, Height orders him to disguise himself as that woman, blend in with the invisibility base, and find out who X is. Essentially, the X prototype is a demonic human with the ability to merge demonic minds into one. The longer he lives, the more minds he can merge, making him a truly deadly entity. That's why Jute always prioritized taking out Prototype X in every reboot. But in this specific reboot, things were different, making this task a real challenge. The grand clock is ticking off the malevolence sent from beyond Providence's horizon, hunting down the entity that's off the world's timeline. So, the fact that X's identity has changed must be another evil deed, as the Guardian spoke of. Height clenches his fist with the intent to take out anything that disrupts his daily grind. He gets sidetracked by Bomb when she yells at him from behind the curtain. She flashes him the bikini she's wearing, and he's wondering what she's got up her sleeve. She explains that she wants to buy a pretty bikini for the summer. Since he can't see well from outside, he tells her to come in and take a look. She lets out a sigh, thinking this would be fun, but it's turning out to be a real drag. She's getting anxious because she was having a good time and wonders if he's got some weird thoughts about her. He tells her, irritated, not to ruin his vibe. As they head back, she wonders if he wanted to check her out. But he shoots down the idea, leaving her to think, was his deal with not wanting to look at her? She tries to provoke him by saying he should have bought it, but he's not having it. Then he admits the real reason he came here. It was because of the kid. He doesn't get what she's saying, so she explains that the baby's teddy bear is totally trashed, so she wants to buy a new one for herself and also get gifts for the others. She thinks about what to get the others, and Gail mentions that she's always into fashion, so she'll get her a wallet so she doesn't feel bad when she's out with her girls. For Joe, she wants to get something he mentioned yesterday that's a bit weird, so she makes an excuse saying she'll get the gifts for Gail and me, so he can pick out a gift for Joe. He walks away, and she wonders if she's cool with just buying stuff on her own. He's heading to the toy store and picks out a teddy bear. The cashier gives him the side eye and harshly judges him. She assumes he's a late 20-something or early 30s guy and finds him attractive too. He doesn't see any chicks with him, and he seems clueless about baby toys. The cashier is sharp and thinks people like him blow their cash too easily. He approaches her and asks if she's picking out a gift for a baby and how old the kid is. He says the kid's about 4 and is not his daughter but a girl. The cashier assumes he's the uncle, which is weird because uncles don't usually pick gifts on their own. Then she makes him feel insecure by saying he's a little off base for spending on a kid. She suggests he should get a doctor's kit for a 4-year-old instead of dolls and stuffed animals. He also offers him a deal, saying that if he buys this set, everything else will be on sale, so he decides to take a look. Then he convinces him to buy a bunch of toys and assures him he won't regret it. He pulls out his card, and when she sees it, she realizes he's a big shot because it's a black card that only they have. He's got a direct hit. As she takes a closer look, she also finds him charming and wonders if she should try to seduce him even though he's married. So she asks if he's got a girlfriend. Suddenly, Bohm appears holding her arm, and the cashier wonders if this is the girlfriend. She immediately notices his uniform and realizes he's a student, assuming he's Hit's sister. Then, Bohm starts to call out all the scams the cashier was trying to pull on the innocent guy. He says Gil doesn't like the game sets and quickly chooses the teddy bear that our kid picked first. He turns to the cashier, wondering if this will get him a VIP discount. When they return that night, the girls and the baby are surprised to see them. When Gail looks at his wallet, she exclaims, "I love you," excited about Bohm and Geek. She asks what Gail bought, and he, with a sly smile, admits he bought an adult toy. She starts to creep up on Gail, saying she wants to give it a try. Meanwhile, the baby approaches our guy to show him gratitude for the toy. Next, Bam shows Jitty the gift he bought for him. He opens the box, and it turns out to be a tie. He bought this tie because he always wears the same one. He's also planning to get him a suit as soon as he's got his own cash. He turns to her and tells her she should have bought something too, to which she responds that she bought something, but she'll show it to him later. A few weeks later, Jute turns to the janitor and orders him to watch the baby, since he'll be out for 3 days. The attendant asks if he's serious. Jute nods and admits he's taking jail with him. In school, the demon slaying simulation has kicked off. It's a 3-day, 2-night survival battle. The students will be in groups of 3 while their handler gives them orders. This is called OP, a term for superhuman squads that specialized in monster raids. Here, the escort will be taking point as the team leader. Gio's hyped and starts trash-talking the other students who've never seen real combat. Tell her to keep it together. This isn't a solo op. They've got a 3-man team to complete the simulation. She lets out a sigh, saying she can only pair up with someone she likes. 2 students approach, asking to team up with them, and she tells them off, but Jitty asks for their names. The kid introduces himself as Hisako Sahiro, and the girl as Kim Jin. Out of respect, they bow down, vowing to bring their A game. Again, I yell at them to leave, but Jite ignores me and forms a crew with them. She's furious with Jite, but he's not having it, telling her to form her own team if she thinks she's got what it takes. Yeah, that's a real blow to her pride. Suddenly, Sejiro. He gets a slap from a kid who reminds him angry that he warned him not to get too close. Sujiro apologizes for no reason, and the thug Johnny turns to Jin, telling her to apologize too. His friends warn him not to get too mouthy, since other entourage members are watching. Johnny mocks them, saying that nobody gives a damn about orphans. He then starts harassing Jin by grabbing her hair. She yells at him to back off, which only fuels his anger since she's calling him out, and O intervenes, asking the bully what's the big deal about orphans. The moment he looks at her, he knows he's in trouble because she's notorious for being a wild card. Even the grown-ups warned him to steer clear of her. Nervously, he tries to deflect the conversation by explaining that an orphan is someone without a chaperone. Johnny slams them again, calling them trash. After hearing that, Joe thinks she's stuck with losers, so Johnny grabs her, wondering why she's hanging out with them. He offers her a spot on his team and says he'll make room for her. While Johnny's only looking out for himself, her personality seems familiar, so he thinks he can handle her. But what Johnny never saw coming, I form a fist and slam it into his face, wondering where he got the guts to put his arm around her. He makes a quick exit before losing any more teeth. Meanwhile, Hatai and the others are left stunned. Later, the demonic combat instructor, Kwanjite, begins to break down the rules. They'll be split into 50 teams, each starting from a different location. Each activity, including deaths and damage, will be converted into points, which will be transmitted and ranked in real time. If a player dies, they'll respawn at a different location after 3 hours. Then it reveals the name of the virtual dungeon, Ant Nest. After that, he wishes them good luck, and they start entering the virtual dungeon. As soon as our red-haired villain walks in, she's already hyped for battle. Hien wonders where the other teams are at. When she sees how energetic I am, Jean admits they don't have her resistance, so if she goes solo, she could get ambushed. Joe mocks them for being weak, but Jean insists they need a plan before they move. Again, Joe tries to take the lead, saying they should just cover her and follow her. This is a team battle, so you need to show teamwork. Our girl is caught off guard, and the situation is heating up fast. Sahoro intervenes to calm them down. Then Jutei asks if they have a target team to take down. Gia knows it won't be easy because each team has a handler, so they won't expose their blind spots. Joe tries to intervene by calling Gian out in, telling everyone to take out whoever they find. On the other hand, Johnny's nose still hurts him, but that's what happens when you come at Joe with a hard act to follow. He just wanted to get along with her, but he didn't expect her to be so psycho. His crew is wondering if he was really planning to replace them, but Johnny insists he just wanted to see their reaction. He gets angry thinking about the girl and how he'll handle her when he sees her again. Speaking of the devil, she shows up. Joe leaps from behind and attacks him again, punching him in the face and sending him flying into a rock. His partner starts sweating, wondering when the hell it arrived. He orders his team to gear up for the battle, but Joe mocks them, saying they're misinterpreting the word battle because this will be a one-sided hunt, calling them pups. The enemy is blazing away at the incoming attacker, but Yorm is moving like lightning. The shooter begs like a kid not to get close, but she dodges another shot and plants herself in front of him with a serious stare, cutting him down with a clean slash, dropping all his health to 0. That kill is as good as done. Joram focuses on the next loudmouth who loves to scream as he charges at her. The clash of swords connects between the two fighters, creating a beautiful contrast. His opponent's being arrogant because he thinks she's underestimating him by not dodging his attacks, especially since he's got the height advantage. The guy thinks he's Obi-Wan Kenobi facing off against Anakin Skywalker, and that just because he's got a bigger gun, he'll win this fight, but he forgot that battles aren't won by size alone. Yura manages to outmaneuver him solely due to his swordsmanship, creating an opening while keeping him distracted. Our favorite redhead mocks him for even thinking he could take her down in a show of strength. After another decisive slash, Yorm's on a roll, securing another win. With these two no-shows, the dragon's a little bummed because these guys didn't even give her a spark. She's worried there won't be more, but one of her friends explains that there is. As he turns around, Yorm notices a guy crawling who barely has 17 health points. He doesn't want to fight him again with that face, but even though he begs him not to hit him, he still takes a beating. Even the boss is like, well, this is messed up. Joram receives applause for having taken down all the fighters solo, while the purple-haired girl is stunned by her incredible combat skills. It's no shock she's a total legend at this point. Though it's impressive, she can't help but notice how impressive her handler is. Jute, the guy who couldn't even tap into mana in his exercise, managed to catch up with the other team. Then, he conveniently set up the perfect timing for Yurim to make her move and deliver the knockout blow. In other words, the guy's got Ayano Koji level planning skills going on, and it's no surprise to assume he's a total operator. With all 37 team members down, the team will have to regroup in a different location with a 3-hour downtime. Jute watches as they take these guys away. He nodded at the other guy before his attention shifted to Yorim's team, which actually ranked 6th in the standings thanks to conquering a single team. Given the simulation period is still fresh, the other teams haven't had a chance to break free yet. Then there's Yorim, who took out a team without taking any damage, racking up the bonuses. Her teammates are surrounding her, excitedly calling her incredible as she walks over and shuts Blonde up, telling her to shut up because these freeloaders didn't do anything and just watched. Her frustration is justified because she thought these numbskulls should take out their opponents from behind. But instead, they just stood there like a bunch of idiots. Jorim's not stoked and is even mocking them for carrying guns as props. Their teammates apologize for not helping, while the redhead yells at them to not settle for a pathetic 6th place. She's dead set on getting that 1st place no matter what, so this is just the beginning for this fiery little beast. The redhead is so furious she's yelling at the blonde for dressing like a kid, calling him a kid, while Hute looks on like a cranky dad. At home, little Gyul plays with her toys. It's been 2 days since the simulation kicked off, and from the simulated prison control room, every scrap is being monitored. Professor Kwangite is slacking off and is stoked it's the last day of the program. He asked for a report on who's in 1st place and found out Team 50 is hot on the heels of Team 1. The thing is, Team 1 is already comprised of 2nd-year elites, but Gitch wants to know who's on Team 50. He quickly finds out it's actually Yorim's team, that crazy redhead with 2 more members. The redhead is playing point guard, with Hisaki Sujiro and Kimjin backing her up as snipers. In other words, the redhead is calling the shots, but Gita's blown away by how they managed to get 2nd place, even with her going solo. The assistant comments that it's actually down to their player, who seems to be making some top-notch moves. They show Jita the route they've taken, and he's blown away by what he sees. The assistant theorizes that maybe the operator has some connection to the Alliance, but Jute seems to be from there, so he should know everyone, except he hasn't heard of our guy. He starts reviewing the facts, like Yorim is the wild card of his academy. Then there's Baum, who's considered a genius wizard by her professors. He's the go-to guy for the girls, connected to all of them. Still, running a background check on him seemed a breeze, like someone has surgically erased or altered his entire history. The assistant shares another doubt, that being the fact that Team 1 is designated to score, meaning their route hasn't crossed with the other teams even once. In other words, it's like they're trying to keep it low-key with the other teams, like a sick game of keep away. Jite argues that the goal of this simulation is to nail real-life scenarios with precision. In other words, this type of strategy is not considered cheating, but a cooperative tactic. They deserve respect, even when they're working together, for pulling off something like that. At the same time, Jute understands that if they faced off and still refused to fight, it would be a clear case of cheating. Back in the fray, Yorim slams his fist into the wall in a rage, bellowing about how they've racked up points without taking a single hit. It's really getting under his skin that despite all their efforts, they're stuck in 2nd place, which is still pretty impressive for some deadbeat like Sujiro. To knock some sense into him, Yurin lays the smackdown on the kid, draining his health points. Meanwhile, his other teammate, Jean, shows up with a loser's mentality too. He's not down to fight for 1st place when they're already gassed and time's running out. Thinks it's a risk because in their current state, they'd actually lose more points. Playing it safe seems like the easy strategy, except Yorim's first move is to praise her for giving it a shot. It's wild to see her playing the good girl until she starts crushing the other girl's spirit with that loser mentality. Jorim calls them out for getting played, not because they're lonely, but because they're throwing in the towel too soon, like a crew of chumps who don't even put up a fight. He reminds them of their promise not to let her down and orders them to get up, no matter how tough it is, leaving behind their loser mentality. Armed with rage instead of fear, the snipers feel motivated and only focus on taking the top spot. Jordan seems pretty stoked with her newfound attitude. While Jake tells her to come over if she's done with her Kobe Bryant-esque speech already, she's focusing on a specific symbol on the wall, pointing out that the other teams are communicating with each other, since they've seen symbols like this before. Sujiro vaguely recalls a convo the elders had about teams forming up and not taking potshots at each other. Her best guess is that they're the culprits, but Jean doesn't see it that way and suggests they rat out the teachers. However, Hiroon wants action and refuses to report anything, believing he has a better idea to take them down. The perspective shifts to Team 1, the elite squad currently holding the top spot. These kids are moving forward with 40 minutes left to wrap up the simulation. Fady assures them not to sweat the 50th team. Their own success is a lock as long as they stay alive. Shighair recalls Yoriam's the group leader, and he's pretty stoked about the first-year crew's performance in swiping second place. He even points out that things could have gone south if they hadn't been on their toes. However, that comment has the team's own leader on edge. While Jessie from Rocket Team is griping that Yoriam can't be as good as their own leader, she's low-key roasting him for dissing Jongmyeon-ho, a high-ranking Sword Clan leader who's basically his own boss. Shighair apologizes for the mistake, but the leader just wants them to stay on high alert for any last-minute meetups. In his mind, Myung-ho's dead set on getting the Patriarch seal of approval, so he doesn't care who gets in his way. All he wants is to prove he's better than his brother Jong-tae, who he's got beef with. Anyway, the guy shows up to drop a bombshell, asking if they've changed their minds or something like that. When Myung sees the marks, this guy is completely stumped. The whole damn cave is now filled with marks, each of a different kind. Shighair points out the obvious and asks why there are so many and where they should go. He's got a beef with the higher-ups while Jessie from Rocket Team is heading to the approaching group. Myungo looks on with anticipation, a team on the other side of the cave. The team emerging from the other side turns out to be Team 3, not Team 50, but the one they're supposed to be working with. Both teams are left speechless and stunned, and since they've now clashed, things just got a whole lot more complicated. Myung-ho's got his priorities straight and figures their only way out is to take out the opposing team. Team 3 can't back down fast, knowing Professor Jute is watching, and they'll get caught if they don't fight their hearts out. In other words, their only shot at survival is to fight hard, so both teams are charging full tilt towards a wild outcome. The team leaders go head-to-head with no holds barred, and from a comfortable vantage point, Yorm is enjoying the show. Shiro didn't think this strategy would fly, but it was a game changer. You see, when they found the roots, Yorm cooked up a plan to throw off the trail, laying down some seriously misleading breadcrumbs, so none of the allied teams knew where to go. The idea was simple in theory and execution. Yorm wanted her friends to make similar marks, while she continued hunting to rack up more points without wasting time. The plan seemed good, but Jean was worried about what would happen if they ran into another team. The redhead had a plan for that too, assuring them that her reliable sidekick would handle the situation. She goaded him into it by treating him like an object while seeking his approval, asking if his plan was solid. Curiously, Jite found it acceptable, but it seemed Yorm didn't give a damn about his response. She was too busy worshiping her own plan. Back to the main fight, Myung-ho wraps it up as the winner, taking down the opposing team's 3 members. Unfortunately, Jessie bought the farm in the process, putting them at a disadvantage. However, Myung-ho was feeling optimistic about scoring points after beating Team 3 if they managed to survive. But that's the catch. That's when our crew stepped up and stole the spotlight. Yorm stepped up as the real villain, who only showed up after weakening them to give them a beatdown. As he went head-to-head with the remaining team members, his allies remained low-key in their high ground position. He's clocking his teammates trying to cover, thinking they're a bunch of weaklings. The Sword Clan air orders Shighair to ascend and take out the other 2. The chubby one counterattacks, suggesting they should fall back to gain time, but Myung-ho's pride gets in the way, and with the killer gaze, he orders the fried potato to take them out. Hoorae's got beef with their cocky team lead for not being able to take a dissenting opinion, so he decides to follow orders and take out the snipers. He's pretty fast because it charges at high speed and appears right in front of the 2. Giro's losing it as Shighair takes center stage, further intimidating these cowards. Both try to flee while Jitty just watches them pass. Their screams catch Yorm off guard. She's pretty impressed that the ball of a guy managed to be that quick. While she was distracted, she barely managed to block Myung-ho's attack. The team leader goads her for not paying attention to her real opponent, and their clash is cut short after the hit. This guy loves to talk and mentions his name, calling her impressive for making it this far and ruining his plans. What's even more interesting is that Yorm didn't even consider it a plan, yet he still managed to pull it off. Myung-ho scolds her for not settling for second place, and as she charges up her attack, she assures her that first place is reserved for the Yang family alone. The red dragon does a 180 and says, "No way, Jose." Jite watches the whole battle standing tall, menacing, as the dragon's aura declares they're gonna swipe first place. The fat guy charges at them like a bowling ball, telling them to knock it off while still being all nice. The pig is really running on fumes from his previous battle, so they just need to run faster. However, Sejuro's already burned out like the coward he is. Looks like he's aged 50 years running for his life. He thinks he's hidden his limit, so he tells her to run without him, but she reminds him that Yorn will really cook him if he does that. Sehiro assures him he's not giving up, but making a sacrifice to let his friends have the win. Saying that, this guy spins around with his rifle to seal the deal. The chubby guy is left stunned by this sudden move, but Sehiro is already fed up with being down and being a loser. He's looking to turn his life around, putting everything on the line to defy fate with this one shot. Now they're probably thinking, wow, character development, except this clown's arrow barely hits the mark. There's an awkward silence before this clown realizes he's lost all his strength while trying to mark up the wall. It's such a lame excuse that even the fat guy agrees, and he lands a solid punch that takes Sehiro down to 0 HP. And then Jin's face is grabbed in the next instant. Wei crushes him to the ground, dropping his health to just 15. Wei mocks them for being a bunch of losers who forgot their place, just because they managed to snag second place. Even in this situation, Jin smiles like a total boss and confronts him. Activating her blessing called the Sniper's Eye, she apologizes for breaking their expectations, and with the gun in hand fires a shot that distracts Wei. Despite the tough talk, the fat guy's confident because the shot missed, and he's still yelling at her for thinking they deserve first place. Cornered, Jin tells him he's misreading the situation because his shot was on target. As he's saying this, a rock falls from the ceiling and knocks the fat guy out cold. She realizes they've got the drop on her. That gun was never the target. It was the ceiling. With that confirmation hit, his health points drop to 0, taking him out of the competition. With the health points he's got left, Jin admits he gave it his all for Yuri. Now, only one person is left on Team 1. However, Jesse also wakes up from his short nap and quickly asks the attendant what happened to his team. The guy explains that Myung-ho and Yuri are going at it while Wei is out cold. As he looks ahead, his eyes express genuine shock. It's because Lil Bro is getting pummeled on the ground by our redhead. Yorm's thoroughly bummed with this dude's skills. I was really looking forward to the final showdown, but it was all for nothing. She's got no excuse for being tired, because she's been going through the simulation solo too. Myung-ho, seething with rage, says the fight's not over before he charges at her for another collision. Brown misses his attack and has the nerve to mock her for coming from a lower-class family. Yorm, on the other hand, toys with him, grabbing his head, telling him the only inferior here is him. You piece of trash. With that said, he drops to one knee, leaving him on the ground. Although that attack should have knocked him out, the redhead's impressed that this guy managed to block it with his sword. Unfuriously channeling his rage, Myung-ho sends Yuri flying. Trading in his cocky attitude, he's genuinely stoked that the girl's way tougher than he thought. But one thing's for sure, her sword skills don't even come close to his. Armed with a winning at all costs mentality, Myung-ho transforms to show her the huge gap between their skills. Yorm takes it with the calm, thinking he's just spewing nonsense like last time. But his face contorts as he realizes what's about to go down. Assuming Miwa's Jujutsu Kaisen stance, Myung-ho unleashes the first form of the Young family's sword arts, Dragon Ascendant. Her blade unleashes blue lightning currents spinning towards Yoram in midair. Even the team's #1 handler is genuinely blown away that Majungo managed to pull off one of the family's most heavy-hitting moves. Jitty keeps watching with a shrug, seeing how Yurm's getting slowly sliced by the wind attack. Instead of being scared, the redhead is stoked to see the Young family's technique in all its glory. While she's still reeling, Myung-ho comes at her with full steam, looking to take her down with one swift hit. Sees the moment, emphasizing that even Yuri Young's top skills can't match the ferocity of a legendary sword clan. This is bad news because the guy is about to bust out his family's second form, unleashing a slash attack that's gonna carve Orim up with multiple cuts. The fight's over, and Myung-ho's all like, I didn't think I'd be busting out the sword skills in a place like this. It took him years to perfect this technique in secret, and it seems his efforts have finally borne fruit in a fitting situation. Now, Myung-ho thinks he'll get the official recognition from his family, thinking he's finally one-upped Jiang Tai-ha. But as he's on his high horse, Bro's sword breaks neatly in half, leaving him gobsmacked. As for the other half, Jorm rises like a cold-blooded demon. The blade is in her mouth. You'll see, he wanted to figure out what made his family so special, since he just couldn't stop talking about his stupid family. Yorm says a sword family is useless without access to their blade. Crafting her own sword art, the redhead invokes the 990th 90-degree technique of the Yu family, and his name is Silencing the Chatterbox. Myung-ho crashes to the ground, still yapping that it wasn't a suitable technique. The fight ends with 0 points for her, and finally Yorm achieves her long-awaited first place. But she's so exhausted in the end that she faceplants. Jitty scoops up the little one, asking how she's feeling after getting the win. The redhead's all frazzled and exhausted, asking Gall to patch her up. The human battle simulation wraps up officially with Team 50 taking the top spot. Outside, weirdly, it's snowing on a spring day. Ms. Gale comments that it's probably due to Gall's influence, because when the Blue Dragon clan is feeling down, snow falls all around them. The Blue Dragon looks lonely, and his guardian is demanding he melt someone's heart. At the same time, Bron doesn't get why they dress him up just to melt someone's heart. Ms. Gale thinks it's the perfect way to brighten up a girl's day, so she starts the mission to melt Ghoul's heart. The little girl is sitting solo in her room. The little blue dragon looks bummed, holding a crayon. The bot calls the little girl Ghoul and encourages her to become a princess with him. It's pretty hilarious because instead of melting the blue dragon's heart, he just managed to rile her up even more. The guy has no idea what he did wrong, while Bomb is clueless about his get-up. Gale's antics have been caught because even dressing up like that isn't enough to melt the girl's heart. Instead, it only scared her. The bot's trying to shift the blame to Gale, but this girl would stay mum like she's got nothing to do with it. In the end, the poor guy had to wash his hands in the middle of a depression, playing like a violin. Besides that, Yorm returns with our majestic protagonist, grumpy because it's snowing in May. Gale quickly approaches to greet them and asks if they had fun, unaware that Yorm has a snowball ready to go. She quickly grabs the poor kid, shoving the gift down her shirt. The angle is devilish, by the way. Orium also says he mixed dog crap into the ball, and I'd be bleaching myself after that. Bomb's got her eyes on her boo, giving props to his hustle, while Jite's got her eyes on the little blue dragon. Apparently, he's made a sweet drawing for him, a gift for his caretaker. Jite looks at the drawing, which shows them all in spring. He spots Gale, Urium, and Bohm with the janitor, but the sweetest part is Jite cradling Gyo. This kid's got a weird effect on him. Just seeing a pic of him like that puts a smile on his face. To make up for the girls, he offers them a 3-day trip to let loose. Bahum is thrilled thinking he's generous for Jules' drawing, while the same blue dragon that was depressed smiles. Thanks to his good vibes, the snow lets up. Beyond that warm moment, the scene shifts to Russian lands, Severo-Baykalsk. 20 years ago, during the Great War, this land was part of the setup, but now it's just a secret spot people avoid, and it ends up being a vacation spot because Gale's here with his beach hat. Jitty shares that he cleaned out a dungeon and found it like this, while Uriayu complains that they had to drive all the way here instead of teleporting. Katie explains he's gonna set up a shop and grab some grub while they're having fun here. Bam's always looking for an excuse to get involved with him, but he tells her to watch out for Ghoul. She feels sad while Yorm, always observant, notes this interaction. Our kid approaches and starts setting up the stalls. In the area, he notes a rare fungus that yells, "Don't eat me." After a while of getting everything ready, Heather comes back for the girls and is shocked to see what's going on. Bomb looks amazing as the other girls play with their swimsuits. By the way, that swimsuit is the same one she wore to the store. It's hilarious because she's teasing him for wanting to see him in a bikini all this time. This flirtatious comment in pose are meant to turn him on, but Hute is no fool and looks the other way. Corum teases him for trying to avoid them, thinking that if he's going to react like that, he should have worn a bikini too. Corum gets a slap and falls into the ocean, all thanks to his own clumsiness. After a while of playing, it's already nighttime. The girls were expecting a delicious meal, but they come back and see a scalding poison bubbling in the wok. Whatever it is not fit for human consumption. Yorn thinks this guy might be trying to poison them with the toxic hot pot, while Gale recalls his traumatic memories of eating too many poisonous mushrooms in the Amazon. The redhead calls him disgusting, worse than dog food. Chi-Chi responds that everyone's enjoying Bam's food, which only angers Bam further, as he had expected them to like it. This guy can't even win now. While they're fighting over the food, the little blue dragon takes a bite and swallows it. The other sisters go into a panic, fearing the girl will die. To GD's surprise, Jewel cracks a smile and says the food is delicious, leaving the other sisters stunned, without mentioning that she's finally spoken. The girls are totally stoked, while Jael is wondering why he decided to pipe up now. Joram jumps in, making it seem like the golden dragon's a snake oil salesman, but Gale denies those claims. Jith's curious about how Bam found out, and Bam explains he overheard the kid talking at home. What's got the green dragon stoked is that the little girl was trying to impress Geek, the same dude who's got a history of tormenting her. He reminded her that this was her cage for life, though she begged him to forgive her. The comment strokes him like a soft breeze, leans over the girl who speaks again, expressing great joy over the food. This kind of expression is something Jite never experienced in his other lives. And all this time, this man has refused to rue the past where he treated her poorly. A past that would be a death sentence for a repeater like him. For a repeater, regret means death. That's why the regressor always remembers, even Jute, that in his life, he'll ensure the little one grows up healthy. It's an incredible scene because she's hugging her with so much tenderness. The scene ends with the girls finishing their meal, and Yorama's still not satisfied, wanting more, even though she was the first to say how terrible the food looked. Since Hike cooked, Bam thinks it's a good idea to clean up, but the redhead is a slacker who wants to smoke. The most intimidating sister calmly grabs her shoulder and orders her to clean up together. One touch is all it takes to get their senses on high alert. Yorama accepts and draws an invocation circle before pulling someone out of it. He's the reliable doorman who's involuntarily summoned. At first, Bro gets all excited thinking they missed him at home and cries with joy. But then the little girl points him happily towards his beautiful task, a nasty mess of a dirty stove waiting to be cleaned. The redhead tells him to hurry up, and the poor guy has to do it alone until Bam also comes to help. Even Yute can't believe they called the janitor just for this, but Horn thinks anyone who's complaining should pitch in and help clean up. Feeling something's up, he tells them to get into the store quick. They're confused when a figure emerges from the shadows, blowing their cover with a loud greeting. Yorm and the girls are confused, calling him a basic bro in the woods. Hutai politely says they're on a family trip and discovers this guy's here with his pregnant wife and kid. The excited guy is surprised that someone else made it to this off the beaten path spot, but our kid gives him the lowdown on the Abaddon mushrooms. You know, the ones that ate him. The guy is gobsmacked and spills the beans that he's the one who planted them. Didn't expect anyone to come and chow down. Feeling the responsibility, Height apologizes, but the man says it's cool because he left them untagged. Just looking at her, the redhead confesses that this guy looks pretty intimidating. Our kid doesn't know how powerful he is, and in his mind, he's thinking he didn't mean to mess with the 9th most powerful superhuman in the world, Mangjong, the regeneration druid. This guy is a rare breed of nature-based superhuman, treated like a national treasure, and in all Hutai's past lives, he recalls having this guy as an ally and, at some point, even a formidable foe. Compared to all the other events, Jite doesn't recall much, but he remembers one key detail. Yanha always looked out for his pregnant wife, implying the mushrooms were for her. Our kid activates his inventory skill, grabs something, and tosses it to Yanga to catch, which is a 1,000 euro ginseng with healing properties, a gift to make up for the mushrooms. This is a 1,000 euro ginseng with healing properties, a gift to make up for the mushrooms. Just looking at it makes the man bow down in deep gratitude, because even Jitty gets that this is way more valuable than the mushrooms. Instead of letting him go, Yanga asks if he's got some downtime because there's a sweet spot up ahead, inviting them to roll with him. Although Jitty is about to shut it down, the girls are stoked and want to check it out, putting our dude in a tight spot. He's strapping them down with a wooden belt to keep them in line. Both dragons are confused as Jitty watches them get tangled up like a bunch of kids. With her husband out of the way, Mianho's wife apologizes for her husband's occasional childish behavior. But Jitty's cool with it and tells her to keep on keeping on. He watches her leave, giving Bohm and him some downtime. The green dragon comments that it looks like a family trip, a far cry from his own. He's not even pretending his family is the real deal. The kid's colder than Lloyd Forger. Still, Bohm argues that his family is missing a mom, although all the rest are his younger siblings, and to conquer this man, the girl takes off her hair tie, gets close to his face, and whispers boldly that she wants to be the mom. Not even our guy can resist this charm. His quick wit at such close range is enough to leave him sweating bullets. The kid is speechless, so Bohm laughs it off before telling him it's all a joke. He plugs his ears to hide his bright red ears while she keeps flirting with him. Aside from that romantic moment, Height's servant returns with intel on the X prototype. Going back to work mode, he tells Bohm to join the others while he turns around to handle a sudden matter. As he leaves, the green dragon wonders where he's off to, while the butler cracks a joke saying he might be headed to the bathroom. Bohm isn't impressed and blows her top at the janitor for dissing her old man. Let's take ourselves to Moscow, Russia, where a certain lady awaits a visitor. This happens to Height's servant while the man arrives for a quick breather. The servant assured him he didn't have to come by force, but our guy wanted to chill after the trip. As for what his servant found, he explains that it's supposed to be a project for the demonic humans to deploy Prototype X. The files mention the Alliance's assault project, and since Height wiped out the demonic humans in their hideout, they've been having trouble figuring out there's an external force interfering. That basically paints the picture of wanting to run the phases. Height's servant comments that they might be aiming for a 70-person assault unit to take them all out with the X prototype. Unfortunately, there's been no direct intel on the X prototype, prompting our guy to go in and verify the facts for himself, instructing his servant to keep an eye out here. The servant lets him be while the scene cuts back to the two families enjoying a beautiful view. Yang Ha's messing with Ghoul's name. He's genuinely blown away that every girl's got a name that's one of the 4 seasons, while Urium's griping that her so-called dad never put any effort into their names. Suddenly, Bohm notices Jait's return, who just says he had to check on someone. Bohm's getting anxious while the redhead's joking that she's probably the chick he wanted to spend the night with, pissing off the green dragon. As for the landscape, Yanga redirects the group's attention to the sky, which suddenly fills with blue lightning, even on a clear night. This is a major breakup according to Gail, and she's the most shook by the whole thing. That's because the literal tear in reality exposes the hypnotic beauty of the cosmos, a glimpse into the dazzling universe. Each of the girls is utterly stunned. Gail, being the most striking, tries to snap all the photos. Using this as another opportunity to connect, Bon asks Jute if he's seen anything like this before, but our guide just denies it. It's at that moment that the green dragon sees her silhouette in the return suit for the first time, illuminating her with new information. Before she could say anything, the stars began to collapse from the sky, creating another breathtaking moment for the audience. Gail, Yorm, and Yonghee's family are left speechless, while Jitty hosts the little blue dragon is so focused on the scene, she's already talking again, calling it beautiful. As night falls, tomorrow dawns. Jitty says goodbye to the 9th superhuman and his family. The man is so romantic that he even confessed to his wife in this place too. Jitty considers this romantic memory as totally surprising for Yanhee because he never expected that a total nonchalant Ian Code dude would say something like that. Out of curiosity, he asks Jitty if there's someone he loves and what he thinks. Bro's gaze instantly shifts to Bohm before recalling his past flame. Remembering his wife, he denies loving anyone and, out of nowhere, Yoon-hee's wife starts coughing up blood nonstop. Panicking, the poor guy opens a portal for his wife while the kid is missing Guile. Back with our family, Jitty tells the girls to get ready to leave, but the spring dragon seems really down and off, so he grabs her and asks what's going on. She doesn't say a word, just changes the subject and reveals how down Yul is about leaving. This is tough. Jitty watches the little one confront her reflection, so he approaches and scoops up some lake water, a way to create a memento for her. Then he tells her they'll come back another time, handing her the bottle and making her happy again. As they're having their moment, Joram yells at them from the car for taking so long. Apart from that, we switch to Jong-ha's perspective with his family at the hospital. He's super stressed out until a dude shows up to help him out. This is the first place getter, our rank 2 in the global ranking tables, BM. BM is sipping on his delicious juice while he and his 2 buddies are catching up after a long time. The second-ranked heavy hitter comments that he's just passing through and has to split, but rushes to ask if the condition took a turn for the worse. Manga confirms what went down during the camping trip. 10 years have passed, and despite advances in magic and tech, nobody can pinpoint what's going on with his wife. During the Great War, she fell and he's kicking himself for not being able to protect her. And now an old virus is running her life into the ground. BM tries to be the good buddy, but he's off the mark because Young Ji is fuming, yelling that titles, like being the top ranked, don't mean squat to him. The dude is bawling like a baby, saying his one and only wish is to see his wife, Hwan, back on her feet. Honestly, bro's a great guy for that, while BM's snooping around to see if he's really crying. Normally, this idiot always laughs like a bomb, so it's rare to see him like this. The only other time he cried was when Hwan gave birth. BM remembers the poor guy making a pretty funny face while begging to be consoled in his misery. As he's leaving, BM tosses him a thing in his hand, egging him on to at least give it a shot. It doesn't explain what's inside, but apparently it's super hard to get your hands on. With the orb in hand, BM wants to leave and tells him to send greetings to his wife. That's when it hits Manga with the idea of the 1,000-year-old ginseng. He asks the crazy scientist to come see because it's something unique, something he's never seen before. Those words leave him frozen in his tracks. Bro's human curiosity gets the best of him because he's genuinely interested now. The scene cuts back to our family. Check out her sisters playing while she's over here with glasses, looking like a mini Gojo. Suddenly, the little one spots Gidi calling her over, asking her to play, and I think we can all agree we need this guy's op crunch routine already. Stoked, the little one zooms across her plush bear, using it as a surfboard before launching into Geek's arms. The guy looks happier than ever. Her expressions are off the charts compared to anything she's ever seen before as he's raving about how awesome she is. The endless compliments overwhelm the little girl, who's lost in daydreams of the perfect trip. As she's sleeping with the bear in a hug, our kid slips out quietly and shuts the door. The janitor's also out cold right now. Joram has fallen on the other side of the bed. With the game time over, now he has to roll out in his aura harvesting suit. Suddenly, he feels the spring dragon and wonders why it's awake. Bloom complains that she wants to tag along, but he doesn't want to take her, but she's worried because she thinks he's on a mission, so he had to bail yesterday. With those words alone, Chait deduces that his providential gift allowed him to see certain events. He begs her to take her along because he knows he'll need her, but this guy flat out rejects her, preferring to go solo. The words aren't working, so the green dragon shows up behind him, whispering that Geeter's treating her like a kid who needs protection, shouldn't be shown the ugly stuff. But she also reminds him that they won't just be happy with the good memories, personally wants to see both the good and the bad, since she's the green dragon. Thinking twice, Height declines to indulge her and leaves, saying he'll be back soon. With a gut punch, Bam asks a burning question, asking what he'd do in a situation where he'd have to suffer to complete his mission. And my glorious king says he'd still do it. Even if others don't like it or it hurts them, he'd still do it. Suddenly, the light flickers on. Jide is stunned with the sword in front of him as he explains he'll need this weapon later. Honestly, I didn't want him to see the sword at first. And this is a sweet gesture because it pumps him up while giving him a chance to wish him good luck. The next scene takes us to the Superhuman Association building. Here, several high-profile members of the Superhuman Alliance are gearing up for the raid. This is the 70-man unit they've assembled, and everyone's ready to roll out on the mission. As they confront the mission leader, Hito Cooley instructs him to include the 70th person, which is himself. His ballsy move leaves the guy speechless. The primary objective of the raid is actually to take out the S-ranked dungeon boss, the Kraken. It's a high-level monster, and for the mission, the best percentage of warriors assembled, like a military powerhouse. The guy who assembled this team is a suit, who's 90% himself. He's the divine archer Shirechi Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke asks if the kid in front of him is Japanese. Height claims he's definitely in the neighborhood. The leader's intrigued as to why this guy wants to join the mission and handpick the best of the bunch. The idea is so ridiculous that Ryunosuke laughs, understanding that this guy knows about his mission and has already dodged his security, which means he's not your average Joe. At first, bro seemed to be down with Jute joining, but then he's about to take him out like Gojo would. It's clear to Ryunosuke that letting a stranger join their mission without working with the Alliance is a harebrained scheme. Bro's about to go full Gojo on this guy, but thinks Jite's messing with him. Our kid is urging him to be sensible in this situation, but Ryunosuke is ready to lock this guy up in a cell, and if he resists, they'll consider him an enemy of the Alliance. Bro's going on and on. He ends it by firing a blast, which Height dodges coolly as if it means nothing. The leader swiftly kicks his desk, blocking the guy's view before unleashing a double-fisted blast, so his opponent won't know where to dodge. Despite that, at the end of his attack, Ryunosuke's impressed that the guy in front of him managed to block everything. Realizing he needs to bring more than just a standard attack, the leader decides to bust out his special move. First, he springs from his seat before launching a mana arrow, the primary ability of the divine archer. The bro thinks he's the hero, trying not to take out the building, and unleashes his attack, the celestial arrow judgment. His projectile is notably fast, hitting his mark, a seemingly indifferent man. He steps aside nonchalantly before catching the bolt without breaking eye contact, a way of mocking his opponent. Ryunosuke starts to realize this guy is a whole different story, and he's bitten off more than he can chew. He's firing back with the same arrow, slamming it into the wall with incredible force. The archer's projectile leaves him completely drained. This fight is over, and he looks like a dog about to get put down. Looking at the pretentious leader, Judy wonders if he managed to convince him somehow. Cheerfully, bro still has the nerve to say no, but our kid is cool with that, threatening to skin him if necessary. Chuckling, Runas comments that his skin is pretty thick for an old dude before unleashing a skill called Radiance. He thinks this should catch Height off guard or something. And like a chicken, bro is running in the opposite direction to get away from the sack man. Runask points the emergency teleporter at him to beam him straight to HQ and report this mess. But just as he tries to force his way through, his buddy gets a major letdown. His escape plan was doomed from the start because the emergency teleporter was already trashed. As he processes his shock, a blade of energy approaches his neck. This guy's life is hanging by a thread, and he's asking again if he's changed his mind. Completely shell-shocked, the arrogant sleazeball gives Jite the welcome mat to the assault unit. In the next scene, bro is seated in the office chair while this guy is kneeling before him. Ryunosuke can't help but wonder about this guy's identity, figuring he's not a demon human, so maybe he's a returner or an isekai protagonist like BM. At the same time, the Alliance should know people like that, so the big question is why this guy wants to join the assault from the start. Height reads the report and asks if that's all, questioning what happened to one missing member of the 70 people who should be on the list. The leader says the guy just dropped off the radar, so they had a last-minute substitute without proper credentials. Runask assures him that the man was officially recommended by the Alliance, so there shouldn't be any issues. But our guy is suspicious and demands to see the operator right away. Following orders, the leader quickly calls in the backup operator, and while this is happening, Git Shadow asks for a chat. Apparently, he's finally tracked down some intel on the X prototype, which is throwing him off because the Shadow could have easily explained that through a mind link. Piecing it together, Heath suspects the files involve someone he knows personally. His Shadow confirms as much. Anyway, the backup operator shows up at the office asking why the room is such a mess. The operator is also confused by Karunask, who's kneeling down, taking some kind of beating, and taking a serious hit to his pride. The person under this armor is someone Jite needs to face. Someone who apparently knows him. He's dead set on taking her down no matter what, but the moment she drops the helmet, her face falls apart. The pretty girl in front of him is Hasaed Buayo, or in other words, his one true love from the past. By his second regression, the war had already been raging against the demonic humans for 3 years. Here, working at the same location in Severobaykovsk, several soldiers were pitching tents while Jite waited. She was about 32 years old when a girl suddenly approached him, lightly touching his cheek, mocking him for falling for her trick again. He gave her a once-over, wondering what she was working with, while she made sure to show it off right. Sell-It Girl noticed the guy was blushing because he looked away, and she invited him to tag along and check out a hill. As they watched them talking, the other underlings wondered if their boss had a thing for the girl because from a distance, it was definitely looking like they were hooking up. At the same time, they were wondering how Seth Bjord managed to join the unit, given how young and pretty she looked. That raised questions about whether everything went down because she was chasing her crush, but that theory gets shot down when it's revealed she was actually looking out for some kids at the orphanage. The tragedy hit at the start of the war, wiping out the orphanage and reducing the kids to red paste. That marked a turning point for Seth Build, who woke up as an op-level superhuman, finding his place in the Corps. What's wild is how he managed to keep smiling the whole time. But after the war, everyone was trying to get over his tragic backstory. That night, Jet found the excited girl greeting him, amazed that she'd actually come looking for him. The kid thought there was nothing special about the place, but this girl was there pining for him. Saint BL commented that there was a beautiful moon right next to his precious face. Despite his attempts to play it cool, this guy didn't flinch, so she's all embarrassed and explains there's more to show him. Her blessing allowed him to sense the danger, ruining the atmosphere and putting Jite in kill mode. Sapiu told him to dial it back for a sec and just focus on listening with his eyes closed. He followed her instructions while she mentioned that her blessing allowed her to sense something more than just a threat. Thanks to her senses, she could feel the heartbeat of someone. Before Hike could grasp what she was getting at, a rift opened up, showing us the same universe of shooting stars he'd seen with the dragons. Except this time he was dazzled. Seeking the moment, she leapt up and wrapped him in a tight squeeze, confirming that his heart was racing like crazy. In that instant, a tidal wave of emotions washed over him. He took her face in his hands and kissed her under the fleeting stars, sealing the deal on their romance. In a hilarious moment, the girl told him to go apply some balm because his lips were pretty chapped. He's really chasing his feelings, and this dude confessed he wants to get hitched with her once the war is over. She thought it was wild that he said that N was down to roll with it. They even made funny jokes about the pregnancy because Sethville found the idea terrifying and joked that she'd give birth to it instead. And to make matters worse, Jite was on board. This guy's a total pro max. Well, her wild love life came to a brutal end. You see, she didn't just die brutally, but the one who killed her was the same Jite, a total psycho. All his friends were dead. As his body was being controlled, he begged the perpetrator to please stop. But he couldn't help but skewer his own lover with swords. Jite screamed in agony. This is probably the most terrifying ending I've seen in a love story. The one forcing him to do all this was a demon-possessed tailor, Hasegawa, who was sickly enthralled by the harmony of his screams. But this was just something he wanted to use against the troublemaker who had caused them so many headaches. Of course, Hasegawa knew Saint Bao wanted his lover to live, so he let him be. But this was an even darker ending, because this way, Jite would have to remember his fate till the end of time. A reminder to never mess with demonic humans. All he could do was stare at the lifeless body of his lover, a fate so agonizing that he took the sword and plunged it into his own neck, ending the second regression. The system called his bluff and rewound the world once more. By the way, all those memories are suffocating him while Seth Beale asks if he's okay because he's spaced out for a bit. The leader's losing it, begging him not to mess with this guy. As for the current Jite, he reflects on how the Grand Clock, the object of regression, intentionally seeks out individuals who've strayed from the world's timeline. Using his authority, he checks up on Seth Beale, only to find that there have been some major changes in his life this time around. For instance, the orphanage collapsed not due to war, but because of superhumans, fueling her vendetta and forcing her to create a contract, allowing her to rebirth as a demonic human. And to make matters worse, the demon she contracted with is the powerful 7th monarch of the void, Rakshita. The object also warns her that she might recall fragments of some memories from previous regressions. But instead of letting her emotions run the show, Height reaffirms that she needs to take out X no matter what. Reverting to mission protocol, Height confirms his position as a guard and orders the leader to switch to operator mode so he can work alongside this girl. In the end, her sole objective is to take out X in any capacity. This sends him to the GTA Ocean Dungeons, where portals open and the assault army descends to confront him. Runosuke's among them, alongside the girl whose senses are on high alert for this guy. Height readies his blade as the Kraken takedown mission officially kicks off. The rest of the team are stumped by Height's sudden inclusion, especially since this guy just showed up out of nowhere. They're worried he's a liability, but they trust Ryosuke's call in the end. The leader assures Jite that although some of them have doubts, it shouldn't be too tough for them, but he's worried it'll cause some drama here. Our kid says he's got no intention of going down that road. Runosuke tells him to mind his own business and get out. What's interesting for Bros X is how unhinged Runosuke seems, suggesting he might be way out of his league. Maybe because he's good at handling high-risk situations. Zane Bull mentions she's got a major case of aquaphobia, and this is her first time in a dungeon situation like this. Out of fear, she begs him not to leave her if they sink. In a hilarious twist, the same chick makes a hasty exit to answer nature's call. As she walks away, Jite gets flooded with memories of his past flame. She was just as freaked out back then, shaking at the mere sight of blood, but one thing's for sure, she wasn't afraid of getting wet. This means the girl's lying, which triggers his ocular ability to sniff out the truth. Now, the reason he doesn't recognize her despite having prior memories is because she's a different iteration of the girl he knew. Despite that, the woman insists on pretending to be the same woman from the past, which means her true soul is probably trapped in a contract with the 7th Monarch of the Void. The girl in front of him is just a mechanism. The Monarch seeks a way to torment Jute by forcing him to kill his past lover again, shattering his resolve and trust. Amiya Kirisugu is impressed by the strategy, but he won't fall for that trap. Meanwhile, the Kraken rises from the depths, freaking out the heroes. The behemoth titan leaves them reeling with his leviathanic presence, wrapping the entire land in his infinite tentacles. Runosuke's spooked because this creature's a whole lot bigger than they were told to expect. Giving the team their first order, he demands they take down the beast ASAP so they can grab a bite. Yeah, the attack plan for this thing is just to go in, the craziest Aku I've ever seen. Anyway, their forces are charging head-on at the monster at hyperspeed. The Divine Archer unleashes the first strike, a clean shot that slices right above the Kraken's head. 3 superhumans leap in to take the beast down in close quarters. The creature tries to counterattack, but his overwhelming amount cuts down everything it's got. A hero opens his eyes, infuriating the beast in a retaliatory strike. The monster overwhelms them with a swipe of his tentacle, taking out several in one fell swoop. Next, a fleet of wizards tries to rein in the Kraken's tentacles, while supers and support aim to amplify the effectiveness of each spell. Long-range snipers are laying down suppressive fire from a distance, while the ground crew desperately tries to expose the monster's weak spot. The Kraken may be chained, but not for long. The chains are snapping, not even the mages can hold on for long. Runosuke begs the operator Jite to expose the weakness, and this man responds coldly, telling them to aim for the left eye of the beast. In the end, when one of them clocked the beast's eye before, it let out a blood-curdling scream. This is the funniest part because Ryosuke's all riled up over that explanation, so he's demanding they call and said bull. He nonchalantly comments that the girl's in the bathroom, which might be the reason everyone ends up dying here. Relying on this guy's words, the leader decides to push forward. He takes the initiative himself, bursting with incredible speed and earning my respect because he really wants to fight. Uniming his arrow of justice, Ryunosuke unleashes a crushing blow to take down the abyssal beast. He breaks into song, firing a massive arrow straight at his left peeper. The projectile zooms in at max velocity, detonating in the weak spot, making the beast scream in agony. The rest of the crew is wondering if they finally scored a kill, and in a way, they did because the Kraken's gotta dip back into the deep. Ryunosuke returns to land, still reeling from his scrap with Jite, so he couldn't give it his all. Unfortunately, that hit wasn't enough to take down the beast, and this is their only shot to put her out of commission. As she stays upright, the golden operator scopes him out from above. She descends, finding her chance to strike, and is about to finish off Runosuke. The demonic part of Setapil emerges, but before she can take him down, our guy shows up to throw her off and save the leader's skin. Meanwhile, Runosuke was clueless about what was going down. The operator goes down with the ocean. Zetbil's demonic nature is revealed, and with a furious tone, is wondering how long Jit knew about his plans. Finding his own closure, our kid assures Sethville that he's a complete stranger to him. He's been haunted by lingering regrets and unresolved feelings from both of them in the second regression. They died, got taken out by him. As soon as he heard those words, the demonic human flashed a wicked grin, thrilled that this guy finally knew his true identity. It went down in the trenches. Buell and Geek were meant to be life mates, but like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, he ended up killing her. She even mocks him for having rough lips and literally tries to strangle him in the second, like the average girlfriend during her period. The demonic human tries to land a fatal blow, but this guy is no pushover and blocks it, forcing her to sprout tentacles from her back and reveal her true form. The Prototype X enters his final form, a terrifying vampiric woman fused with arachnid limbs. She goes all out, launching her Kaguni, but he absorbs her aura and slices through it as he slides into the water, only to have those same shredded tentacles come back and slam into him in the flank. Forcing Hatai to block again, the demonic human goes on the attack, knowing he's got him cornered, forcing him to fight again. Honestly, it blows his mind that he's become so much stronger, because if he had the same power before, he would have saved everyone. She says this as she manages to block his attack. Zapiel wonders why he's only defending himself and not leading the charge. She thinks maybe it's some guilt that's forcing him to back down, stopping him from killing his past lover again. In the end, in her second life, she literally ripped his eyes out. His attack seemed ruthlessly merciless. In a twisted attempt to get a rise out of him, she taunts him, saying she felt cold when he stabbed her with no mercy. The big clock is feeling the disruption of an object out of timeline, one called the Longsword Armax. This weapon shatters those illusions and tears the human demon's limbs apart, piece by agonizing piece. That's his way of saying he doesn't care anymore while she's suffering this time. Height feels that her sword's power is amplified by the timekeeping device. She wonders if it's because of the malice he extracted from one of the Guardians. This reminds Bam of him and makes him realize she foresaw this future. Thanks to this weapon, our kid doesn't need to kill Seth by his soul. He can go after the darkness that's affecting her. Actually, the demonic human is already losing control, but Yute attacks again, ordering him to stop messing with the girl's head. Unfur her with another crushing blow, tearing her apart and further demonizing her. The demon's now cornered. He knows things are going south, so he scans his surroundings and finds the wounded Kraken from before. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. If she can't land a hit, she's not a threat, so she dives straight at the Kraken, landing on top of it, then extends her tentacles and stabs the beast to drain its energy. Height's mind is blown that she can even mess with the mind of a beast in this life too. The demon lets out a brutally inhuman scream, unleashing a dozen tentacles at him. Preparing for his next move, Jitter wraps his impressive sword with the second form of his amorphous sword ability, shrouding it in darkness. He draws the blade and begins to swing it, firing chains that lash out and sever each tentacle. The demonic human gazes into the depths of his darkness. It's the only skill she doesn't recall from her memories, but can infer from the Kraken's torn limbs that this ain't no divine gift or magic trick. It's like the darkness is born from a deep-seated hatred. His own design is a representation of a killer's intent, and as he charges to finish her off, the demon is taken aback, wondering how this man managed such overwhelming force. In the final moment, Seth Bial shows his innocent face, calling him a monster before his own face is torn apart. Imagine a literal demon calling you demon, bro, like the John Wick of this universe. Anyway, that last attack sends shockwaves through the ocean, triggering tidal waves. This level of force is familiar to Ryunosuke, who understands it comes from Jute, wondering what the heck this guy is doing. After the storm clears, our kid carries the unconscious body of Zedbiel, and thanks to the authority of his big watch, absorbs the remaining malice in her. He's also got him on a tight leash, making sure no more evil gets a hold of him, but at least that's that for now. With the past settled, Bro gets a call from the Golden Dragon that informs him Ureum is mainlining the hard stuff. Yeah, Pops, I'm on duty, and I've got a problem with the drunk kid. With that, the Superhero Alliance's mission to take down the Kraken is officially wrapped up. As for Jite, he returns carrying Zedbiel's body, leaving the four girls stunned by this sudden move. Horm's the first to question who the naked chick is on his couch, wrapped in his jacket. He even mocks him for bringing home a girlfriend. whispering to his sisters that they are very bold for getting naked before they even arrive. Denying the accusations, Chait says is just someone he knows, but the redhead keeps accusing him of a common love story. Pissed, Bro sets up his sweet special karate move and takes her down with one hit. He tells them they are not acquaintances and she doesn't know him, but Bohm figures his mission somehow involves this woman. He's not done with the girl yet, so he wants her to stick around for a bit. If it's that simple, Yorm's cool, but the Golden Dragon is the first to protest like a lawyer. He's complaining that this place is supposed to be their safe haven, not a place for someone else to just barge in. It's ironic because even the Blue Dragon agrees with Gel's complaints, while Uram ironically calls them conservatives. Disputing his claim, G states that they literally have a concierge guardian inside their home. The redhead and the others still oppose the main claim, and even Baum has to get on board with the sisters. Her main complaint is that she's also a woman. Gel stands firm, believing the vote proves they're right, that women can't keep up with them. Bohm decides to take these problematic kids so our boy can wrap things up. Kurim is taken aback by the sisters' reactions and asks Jute what he's going to do. In the end, he's clueless and thinks the only way out is to ship her off to another place. So in the next scene, or rather the morning after, the problems come back to haunt them at the Dragon's Den. And yeah, that was a deliberate play on words. Yuri Jam confronts the woman losing her grip right now, threatening them with a bottle of wine. Zeepiel's going ballistic while Yait's chilling, despite Bra snatching her straight from her crib. The girl's also upset because she's not wearing her clothes, while Jershram emphasizes that he's never done anything weird. The idea is supposed to chill her out, but it's just pissing her off more. Seidel flaunts his otherworldly status as the Red Dragon starts to realize this chick is totally losing it. At that moment, Jute receives a system notification confirming he's already pulled 10% of the Malice's trail. Thanks to this, a new truth has been unlocked. Apparently, Seth Bial's got a mental corruption coming on, meaning her mental state's gonna be a total mess till that corruption wears off completely. This is understandable for Jute, since it's a direct consequence of his own wickedness too. Sepshul tries to attack them. Yorm asks for orders, and he gives her the green light to hit the girl. Sepshul fails to attack her, while Joram grabs her wrist and throws her to the ground. That little slap seems enough, but Jita covers Jewel's eyes because Yori Jam tore her clothes. The girl's all mixed up and tosses the blanket, blaming Sapiel for carrying on like that. She also yells at the dim-witted janitor for not cleaning. Interestingly, the doorman rejects the request, surprising both of them. Enraged, he yells that his only duty is to protect the Green Dragon and that he feels Yite has stolen his sword. He wants it back while Jorian wonders what's gotten into this guy all of a sudden. Yite feels he's in the same boat as Sethbiel, meaning he's been exposed to the same evil. Leaving the girl behind, he prepares to face off against this jerk. The Guardian blames his previous loss for letting his guard down, emphasizing that it won't happen again. But before this guy can finish his sentence, a karate chop knocks him out cold. The guy face plants to the ground, and Yorn realizes both idiots are in the same boat. But there's a problem. What do they do with them if hospitals aren't an option? First, Git confronts his sweetheart for having been drinking all night. Yorm denies it, but tells him to bring a bottle and follow him. He opens a portal, saying he'll take them to a place that will treat them. In the next scene, we arrive at the underground labyrinth. The Red Dragon's hyped about how sick this place is, while GT's saying it's their main base and treatment facility. She's a bit uneasy about the cells, but he tells her to keep moving, always on high alert. Yorm dares to ask if he'll catch him here if he doesn't listen to their orders. This brings him another disturbing recollection. He remembers torturing the Red Dragon in one of her past lives and how angry she felt with him. Murmuring, Hute says he won't do it again. Then, he stands in front of another weird door. Yoren starts wondering if anyone actually lives here, while Dad explains they'll be renting a room. Thanks to his sharp senses, he understands that someone strong is waiting on the other side, giving the Red Dragon the scare of his life by revealing he's the second strongest man in the world. Jadani looks him dead in the eye and blocks the attack, mocking his friend for greeting him like that. The guy waiting is BM, who responds that he never invited him. We've got a small rundown of BM, who once drew in silence, but one day a tragedy struck. 40 years ago, he went MIA in a mass disappearance incident. The superhuman vanished into thin air, and despite government searching, no trail was found. Those kids went missing for 15 years, and only one guy came back. They called him BM, the first returner from a world called Aranate. This guy's the second-ranked superhuman, now whining because our kid cut the chimera. He tells him that he can fix that ugly thing in an instant. In other words, he intentionally makes a clean cut, or in a more fitting phrase, he puts a band-aid on it to save face. BM fixes the chimera, questioning why he's here. The guy says he wants a room in the maze, freaking him out even more. At this point, he starts questioning Jite's identity, but our guy doesn't explain what it is, just that he's got people to deal with for 6 months. BM isn't generous and gives him a 30-day ultimatum max. Clearly, that's not enough for Height, but the more he talks, the more this nerd shortens the time. BM mocks him for thinking there's something he needs here, implying what he's looking for is in another world. He gives him the finger, thinking he's being generous with an intruder who came in and killed his dream. Says he won't cooperate. Jute mocks him for acting like he owns the maze before blowing it all to hell. In other words, bro says he'll keep trashing the place if the guy doesn't up the time. Furious, BM unleashes his powers to confront him, warning him that he'll regret it. The ability he's using is called Agilia's Curse, double A+ rated. When he summons something like that, our kid starts wondering if he wants to level the whole place. But BM's got such pinpoint control, he's only aiming for him. The arm extends to capture his target, but our kid doesn't budge from his spot, just freezing him in his tracks. His powers leave BM frozen, wondering if it's some kind of mind trick, but no, the real answer is a whole different story. Even Ilia's cursed arm caved to primal fear. Demon blood's got the shakes around this guy. The craziest part is that BM hadn't gone through this. Not even when he faced off against Oscar. Teleporting behind him instantly, Jite grabs a tube and asks what he's cooking up. He tosses it threateningly, making BM lose his cool. Bro freaks out because it's his priceless sample to create human chimeras. Height's intrigued as BM assures him he's not plotting world domination. To be honest, I just wanted to be a clone of myself when things got ugly. That's why he's freaked out and just wants Height to let him off the hook. Unfortunately, bro was lying because our kid activated a special eye to detect the truth. He almost broke the bottle, making BM spill the beans. But Jute's playing dumb, not giving a crap about the answer. The only thing that matters to him is the room. Without the same attitude, BM lets him use it as long as he wants. He guarantees that he'll be here for a year, no matter what. There will be a magic armor-wearing person and a superhuman stored, both corrupted. Considering that, BM plans to check on his condition frequently. Interestingly, Jute shares that this is way better than the crappy drink he had before. As soon as he opens the bottle, BM is completely blown away by his mystical properties. He's calling out to Jute. His face is totally gobsmacked as he asks when he managed to score the stuff. Heading back to Yorm and the kid, the blue dragon is keeping guard, refusing to let this little troublemaker pass. It's hilarious how a baby's enough to keep her in line. Even Gel is mocking Jorm for not following the mister's instructions. The best part is, the girl can't even tame her wild streak, like she did with Gale. She tries to intimidate her, but the little killing machine remains stubborn, further frustrating Yorahum, who thinks he's missing out on an epic battle, like Bucky style. In the end, the family's biggest powerhouse is going toe-to-toe with the second strongest superhuman out there. She thinks this fight will be on the level of the Avengers, but Jillian couldn't care less. The little girl is holding her ground and is giving Jorm a hard time, who's starting to realize that there's no one normal in his family. Suddenly, she comes up with a bright idea. Addressing little Jail, he starts talking about how the baby's down because Hitte hasn't had a chance to hang out with her. The Red Dragon persuades her by making a deal, suggesting he'll convince Hitte to go on a solo trip with them. The trip will feature breathtaking snow-capped mountains and delectable ramen parties, filling the little girl's imagination. Just the thought of it gets her excited enough for Yorm to shift positions and let her escape. But the moment she tries to open the door, Jite opens it and knocks her out again. The little girl's a total letdown, missing out on the epic showdown, but Dad's playing dumb, giving her another shot at the same dude. BM shows up and casually goads her, saying she never goes easy on her opponents, but for fighting the crazy red dragon, that's all she wants, so she's ready to fight with passion. BM takes a swig, mocking that the scent is so perfect it's out of this world. This means the liquor is from another planet, Rendaz, the same place where he went MIA for 15 years. He's blown away that the dude managed to score something that wasn't even available on Earth. Now the love-struck bros are making out with a bottle. To the point where he's stoked to rent out the room for 10 years right now. Jute heard the commotion outside and decided to ask a favor, which is exactly what BM is doing now. The second strongest superhuman is about to get schooled by a kid who's stoked to play with him. His friend thinks it'll be a fun distraction while he can scope out the room. BM also finds out they're his daughters. Chite confirms this info while little Wells blushes and avoids looking at her new friend. We're heading back to Harm. She's here, bursting with praise, barely able to contain her excitement. How the typed photos are going viral worldwide. It makes him wonder if she sees him as a total genius, but she disarms him by saying he's a total loser nerd. What really matters is if this guy is stronger than Javier, a dude who's been MIA for a while. BM remembers the guy went blind, wondering what happened. The little one's playing dumb, but BM's got the lowdown. There's at least 5 superhumans stronger than him, and he's even more powerful than all 5 combined. The bro is building aura now, and this dragon chick is falling too. She sees him as a total game changer. The crazy scientist takes her to a specific room used for battle evaluation, not wanting more of his stuff to get destroyed. Before he can even say start, Yorn unleashes a crushing fist and is parried, rendering his attack useless. His fist is heavy. BM looks at her with disdain for attacking with such impatience. But it's a fight he's been craving, especially since he's only fought weaklings this whole time. BM praises his passion and rushes to fight with his damned arm. As the epic showdown unfolds, things are looking chill for Jute, who stumbles upon the maze room and then uses his portal to beam both corrupted dudes here. He instructs them to just chill here until they're better, something they're not exactly thrilled about. On top of that, our kid turns around and finds the Paradise Crystal, a thing he hasn't seen in a minute. This thing is genuinely made in a dimension beyond your grasp of magic. The same crystals gotta keep humans high and satisfied, but that happiness is totally manufactured and forced. For instance, in one of her past lives, Jeet had to lock up the red dragon here for a while, holding back her rage, but even as she was doing that, Yorm felt so repulsed by the pain that she begged to be killed. It all ended in failure, but he's holding on to hope for these two. By the way, Gull's already losing it in a pretty funny way after a brief exposure to the crystal. In the next scene, we're back home with Bohm holding the baby dragon, finally piecing together what caused the big mess. Anyway, even with the short exposure to the crystal, Gull is already losing his head in a funny way. Yorn suddenly looks fed up and yells at him for trying to stick around by his side. It looks like Bohm can tell something went down because the red dragon's all busted up. Meanwhile, Yait's thinking she got totally wrecked and humiliated in that fight. Back in the dragon's red room, Yorm's depressed by her loss. She lost so miserably that it physically shook her, making her realize there are forces more powerful than herself. Suddenly, Yu appears and freaks her out, making her stumble and knock her head. Jorm yells at the brat for not seeing the big sign outside the door that she insists on touching. By the way, this kid is here to make you hold up your end of the deal. You'll see, all that talk about sleds and noodles also needs to be backed up now. Orm realizes he's talking about the whole trip, but thinks it's cheating because Ghoul didn't budge. He falls back onto his bed, refusing to convince Jite, especially since their deal never came to fruition. To make matters worse, Yorm orders the little one out since she's in a foul mood. So Ghoul uses his ultra-secret move called I'll Cry If You Don't Help Me Bitch. Yorm feels guilty and good. In the next scene, we find her setting up a meeting with Old Man. Rooster takes the lead and asks with doubts if he's got some downtime tomorrow. In the OBM lab, the Chimera is cleaning up like a seasoned maid. This drunk idiot is already regretting downing half the liquor, but what's really getting to him is GT's unsettling identity. In the end, the guy somehow managed to get his hands on Arendud's liquor and also has a formidable knowledge of chimeras. Putting the bottle aside, BM figures this guy might be a portal jumper from the same world as him. That's the only logical explanation for why someone like him has those dark circles under his eyes. BM's stoked and wants to ask him next time they cross paths. Interestingly, the Chimera realizes the man's hair, which BM instantly recognizes as Jite's hair. This is perfect for the nerd who's got a new toy to play with. Anyway, that weird scientist decides we go back to Gale's sweet ask. His old man confirms he's free and asks what he's in the mood for. Summoning all his courage, the blue dragon suddenly shifts the blame to Yorane to take care of it. G's got a problem with this and is calling out the red dragon for strong-arming the kid into spilling the beans. Gale looks at Yorm with great anticipation. Only his eyes show a confidence that's counting on his sister to come through. The red dragon smiles and screws everything by inviting this kid on a date. The funniest part is that bro accepts the offer, leaving Gale completely gobsmacked. The poor girl is totally wrecked, while this guy is actually down to take her out for a rematch against BM if she's game. He's gonna make her go on a date with the blue dragon instead, since she's clearly hung up on him. Also, she wants to talk to him about a personal matter when she gets back. Something very serious. The room falls silent when Yorm walks out. Jutei asks Gull what he wants to do. The little blue dragon blushes and asks to go sledding. The scene cuts to the Himalayan mountains, where these two are having a blast on a downhill run. Our big kid doesn't bat an eye, as usual, bouncing off the mountain's edge without a care. This hike gets the little guy pumped up before slamming down with a hard thud. He's really enjoying the ride, despite his legs being frozen with fear. He picks her up and slings her over his shoulder, asking if this is better. Yul covers bro's eyes, blocking his line of sight. Instead of letting him go, the little scamp proceeds to cover his nose too before covering his mouth. It's a real treat to see this moment, and by nightfall, dad and daughter cap off a hearty meal. The fun part is that this little dragon managed to chow down 20 packs of hay all by herself. How come he's checking out her socks from the side? Haite asks what she's up to, and like an excited baby, she's trying to take them off. As a responsible dad, Shutai tells him not to play with his socks because they're dirty. Instead, she wants to play with her hair, but unfortunately, Gwil says he lost it. She even makes a cute face to apologize. Making sure his daughter is happy, Bro yanks out another lock and hands it over, reminding her it's the last time. He's also not cool with her using others to set up play dates, insisting that he'll ask her directly because he's always got time to play with her. The little dragon is thrilled to hear that En soon falls asleep hugging his bear. As she sleeps so comfortably, Jite recalls that today's the same day the blue dragon gets its first epiphany, because during the dragon's life, they discover their values in their own element. For instance, the green dragon's all about art and craftsmanship, the golden clans acting like deities, while the red clan's a bunch of battle-hungry warriors in the trenches. Ultimately, the blue dragon is the most free of them all, with no predetermined purpose beforehand. Instead, when the kid turns 18, he gets a revelation from the previous lord. It's like being in a state of Avatar. The wills of the predecessors are interconnected to give different tasks to the new blue dragons. These tasks become the lifeline of a blue dragon, its own destiny. Right now, Giles plummeting into the abyss with one of the predecessors, a top-tier blue dragon she calls her daughter. The blue dragon listens to an unknown voice calling her, a voice that calms her, though it comes from a divine dragon. It's supposed to be her grandpa. The creature welcomes her, congratulating her on living a healthy and happy life. She feels a warmth and confirms that someone is wishing her happiness, just as she does for that man. That's why her predecessor explains she's got to take on a heavy mission because the future is looking dark. She might lose some of her allies, but during that time, the girl needs to protect what's truly important to her. Also, that massive thing transformed into a human to make the artist's life easier. Gale's got doubts about his strength, but his granddad's all like, listen kid, it's not about the brawn, it's about the heart. That's what's gonna tell you who to watch out for and how to do it. With his determination, he'll be able to keep them in his corner. To cut to the chase, Gale's only epiphany is that he's got to protect the people he loves in his life. The little girl's got a simple mission, and with that revelation, the dragon gets vaporized in thin air. With newfound determination, little Gale is hell-bent on becoming big and tough to protect her loved ones. Next up, we're heading to a coffee shop for a meetup between Jutei and his shadow, who's apologizing for not being proactive enough, and more importantly, our kid wants to get the lowdown on invisibility. The shadow mentions the Malaysian orb, which is supposedly a rare breed of dungeons, considered grandiose and extremely hard to conquer. It's impossible to know what room holds what test, and even the best are willing to risk their lives for it. Apparently, Layer plans to host last year's event in that dungeon, while invisibility is planning to use followers to create more demonic humans. What's the play? Putting wooing on top of everything. Height's intrigued by this method, while the shadow mentions whispers of invisibility that are spreading about the X-prototype issue. In other words, people are already hunting for the killer behind the prototype X's downfall, and there's a hefty reward for our heads, 15 high-level monostones. The good news is that no one knows it's Jite, so he tells his shadow to focus on Russia and we want from now on. More importantly, he wants me to dig up dirt on the festival too. The shadow is on board with both tasks, but is a bit confused by Jill's suspicious behavior at the corner. Not even our guy can tell what's going on with her, since she's been super tight-lipped since the big reveal. Suddenly, the kid gets a message from the den's department. He's a bit confused until he gets home and explains to the girls about a chaperone's advice. Apparently, the three girls are going to have a chat. The poor girl wants to join in, but Yorm is mocking her for not being a student. The redhead has been really pushy lately and is dragging Jutei into a private conversation. That instantly kills the vibe for the rest of the sisters. Since Yorm's the eldest, Hai asks her what she wanted to talk about days ago, probing if she's worried. When she sits down, the red dragon confesses how weak she feels. I'm not lying. Even Bro is disappointed to hear that even he assures me that BM is just that strong for his level. However, Jorm doesn't have that concern. He's a total dragon hater. He's always salty about using his inner beast, even after winning against noobs. He's straight up salty about it, even after winning against students, and it's all thanks to his draconic strength. In other words, he had to tap into his dragon heart, almost revealing his new form. The victory felt pathetic, even for her level. Comforting her, Yeth comments that she's already too strong, since the blood that runs through her isn't normal. In other words, she's lucky to have the ability to dominate just because of how she was born. And if she forces evolution, she'll be fighting against her own nature and will pay a steep price. Yoren doesn't want to worry about the future. All he cares about is being tough in the present. Taking notes, he offers her a chance during the school break. The redhead is confused until he reveals that Yite will personally teach her how to get stronger. This is the offer of a lifetime, but instead of being grateful, the arrogant one thinks she's doing him a favor by becoming his student. And then there's the Golden Dragon, the popular idol girl who claims to love school and having friends. Since she's got no strings attached, Height asks her to send Bomb, but Gale makes a last-minute request, asking to go to some kind of briefing instead. Apparently, the academy sends students to military bases and she's interested in going. When asked why, the Golden Dragon girl shares that she's intrigued by the volunteer work and meeting new people. She also heard she could give presentations to the soldiers, something that totally fits her vibe, although she thinks he'd never let her. Dad considers this and explains they'll discuss it later. In his thoughts, he believes his desires are in sync with the Golden Dragon's nature. And then there's Bomb. He asks if she's okay, to which the Green Dragon simply shares that her life has been about taking care of herself and her sisters. When asked if he needs anything, Bomb assures them he's not into the whole creative thing just because of his association with his crew. Also, she's the first to ask if Jutei needs a little love. Actually, the girl's being super bold, snatching his clipboard and roasting him for needing a little love. Jutei wraps up the conversation, but Bam's not ready to call it quits. She's so bold, she's sitting on his lap while he's reminding her that people usually don't talk like that, and she's just egging him on. Even tries to get out of it by saying his knees hurt, so he should get off, while she teases him by writing notes on the clipboard calling him old. She's really bold, and she's all about being up in his face instead of keeping her distance. She literally grabs his hand and confesses her desire to be closer to him. She brings her face inches from his, implying she can back off at any second. The office chair collapses to one side, sending both lovesick fools tumbling. Bomb leans in on him, while the Green Dragon keeps asking if it's too much for him. Heath is completely shell-shocked, as if his soul had been reaped, while his heart pounds away at him. Just as he's about to say something important, he receives another vision, this time of the god-awful bastard who stole our kids' happiness the first time. By the way, Gil accidentally walks into the room and asks what the adults are up to. Jeet tries to explain that Bohm is attacking him, but she clamps her mouth shut, emphasizing that she was just pulling a simple prank. Bohm apologizes to the kid for scaring her, but Geit's really just trying to get in on the fun. She's also down to play counselor too. Hithe reminds her she's not in school, but by her face, you can tell the little one's totally salty. The spring dragon rushes out to prep dinner, but even as she's leaving, words get stuck in her throat after seeing something ominous. The year-end event of the Academy is being globally announced. Bribes and backroom deals are pouring in from all corners, with officials, governments, unions, and family dynasties throwing cash at the festival. Wewin announces that it will take place in the depths of Malaysia. The interviewers ask if the difficulty level will be suitable for the students, but Wewin assures them that the current team is a whole lot tougher than last year's. This team will comprise students and established ranks. In other words, they've been gearing up for a while now, and he's got more reasons to be hyped than worried. Bro's sidekick, Wakpana, is freaking out watching this from home. Hasamato adds that Wei Yuan is hard on him for messing up his arm like that. All that hate is directed at the ex, the dude who's been cramping their style. Even so, Wakpong believes they'll soon make amends when the plan bears fruit. Because if Wei Yuan gets a fair shake, everyone will get the respect they deserve. Peng's about to spill the beans, but he's holding back at the last second. This seductive beauty is tempting him to talk, using her voluptuous thighs to corrupt Bro's mind. Finally, Panwi gives in and hopes he doesn't spill the beans. The truth is, they plan to recruit 2 demonic humans from the disaster class and 1 from the calamity class for the dance. Stoked, Hasamato asks for names. Hasegawa is the only one who spills the beans before Panwi gets a surprise call. Now you're probably wondering who this girl is. She's Jait's shadow servant, who confirms she got her hands on some critical intel. Back home, Gold and Blue are unwinding while Yutai gets dressed up in a sexy outfit to attend some event. They're totally lost for words. Gal asks if he's going to a wedding, but the Korean John Wick clarifies he's attending a funeral. Outside, he walks with Hasegawa's haunting memories lurking over him. This is the same bastard who tortured him in one of his lives. While the pretty boy is chilling, people seem to be staring at this hypnotic woman who looks like a celeb. It's Bohm who spots him from a distance, despite his attempts to avoid eye contact. Like a lovesick maiden, she hurries over while he asks her why she's dressed like that. Apparently, Bohm wanted to dress like him, thanks to his knowledge of the future of how he was going to dress. That's a bold move. Hype plays it cool and tells her to come back, a response she's spot on about. He's gonna invoke the obvious that she's gonna say no, and he's gonna need her help, emphasizing that he's not exactly a good egg. Leaving the mystery aside, Hype declares he's going on a mission to take out someone, emphasizing that he's not a good person. In reality, he'll just keep killing more and more people, and his methods will get even more twisted. That's why he doesn't want the Green Dragon to witness such heinous events. So he asks him to lay low and head back home. Instead, Baum shares that as a member of the Dragon Green clan, he can glimpse the future. But that's not all. He can't even do anything about what he sees. For instance, he saw a girl with mental issues of her own mom the other day, despite her mom having taken care of her for 2 decades. The method was brutally cruel, but he couldn't do squat. But when it comes to him, he wants to save his ass, wants to help him like that time they saved a chick together. As he heard those words, Jitty let out a deep sigh and gave in for the first time, on the condition that she send him home if he interfered with his mission. She's over the moon, ecstatic, the happiest she's been, and the scene takes us to Kyoto, Japan, where puppeteer Hasegawa is getting ready to split. We cut to the swanky hotel, hit in his Valentine walk into the salon, and the first thing they see are couples even more high class getting down to business. She's blown away that this is where her supposed showdown is going down, and even though she caught a glimpse of it with her skills, seeing it in the flesh for the first time is overwhelming and confusing, especially since a major brawl is about to go down here. Jute moves in, telling her to stay on her toes, because there are enemies closing in, even though she senses no demonic humans. A blonde woman in a red evening gown shows interest in Jute's family. The kid nonchalantly drops that he's from the Kanetsuki clan, the same crew they'd love to keep under wraps. At the same time, she had no idea this family has someone as hot, making Bomb feel a little jealous. She wants to bust a move with him, but he shoots her down because he's got 2 left feet. The woman takes it easy and even wants to lead the dance for his own good, just so Bomb bursts in, grabbing his arm before hugging him and saying they're already planning to dance together. Well, that's a low blow to the blonde because the girl gets all fired up and storms off in frustration. Meanwhile, Bomb's really itching to get down on the dance floor and asks her to join him, thinking it's the best way to blend in and avoid raising the enemy's suspicions. She's got the perfect alibi to do it, for the sake of the mission and all. In the end, Jite accepts the mission and takes her hand. Everyone around them is suddenly asking about the power couple, and they're all obsessed with the two celebrity figures stealing the spotlight. The girls are crushing on the guy, and the guys are all about the girl. Jitty spins her around while Bond praises her improvement in dance moves. Height tells her to focus on the mission, so he clarifies that it doesn't seem like there are demonic humans around. People around here seem sane, so he asks more about the kind of person they're looking for. Height shares that the guy plays music, pretends to be an artist, and talks about the devil. The guy shows up to meet the family's second son, Kanatsuki. Asura approaches as the MC, apologizing for crashing his dance party. He's also meeting the stunning Haru, his new executive assistant. The Spring Dragon gives props to the old dude for his sick beats, while Hasegawa plays it cool in front of her. Focusing on Jute, she insists on becoming a pair of butterflies to steal the show. Hasegawa laughs, insisting on greeting her as his lover the next time. Our guy starts thinking she's getting carried away, but the Spring Dragon jokes that he shouldn't make a face. Distracted, our guy asks the old dude when his act is gonna go down and finds out it's about to kick off. Bomb's stoked to hear him out for the first time, while the old man's hoping he'll leave a lasting impression. With him by his side, he realizes Jite wants to take this guy down, but that's the hard part. This guy's an immortal, a real game changer. At the same time, each resurrection takes time, specifically a 10-year wait. Height's original plan was to wipe out the whole party, along with the old fat guy, but he's cool with letting some entertainment keep going. He gets where he's coming from, while Hasegawa's performance is center stage. The Green Dragon is in villain mode because she's dead set on finding a way to kill the old man once and for all. As for Hasegawa, take a look at her piano before committing to her real play. By the end of the night, Yute's waiting for Bohm to wrap up, but it looks like she's too busy barfing to care. He tells her there's still time to back out, but she's seriously freaked out by this whole scene. Our guy thinks this joint's not the right spot for someone like her. Even with Providence, you should know it's crawling with corrupt people, not for some innocent girl like her. This makes him wonder, why does he have to come here if he doesn't deserve it? Bohm reflects on the question before confessing from the heart that she doesn't want him to feel like a dead man walking. Jute doesn't get it and emphasizes that he'll find a way to take out Hasegawa once and for all. Bohm walks out of the bathroom, sharing that she was actually busy cooking up something. And with a confident smile, she assures Jite that Hasegawa is gonna get his final curtain call tomorrow. Talking about that day, the old man is ready to strike up one last time, a composition that gets the crowd on their feet. From the moment he starts playing, his music has these humans losing it, while Height and Bohm are as chill as can be. To initiate his plan, Death tells him to get ready, because what he's about to witness will be his most terrifying memory. Let the wine glass drop, shattering it in, drawing the attention of the mind-controlled puppets who only stare at them. As the chaos erupts, our kid and the girl remain chill. Dude realizes nobody's actually alive. We go back to moments before when Jute asks if the gala people are corpses. The girl confirms, saying they're just Hasegawa's puppets. When he asks her how she's so sure, she reveals she knows because she's a dragon. When touching someone, he can sense if they're alive or not. When he touches one of the girls, he feels a little life, which annoys him, as it seems that only her ears are alive. He realizes he was too hasty in their past lives, killing Hasegawa without knowing the secret. Baum asks about Hasegawa's immortality. She draws a diagram to show that if a demon fails in its objective, it must go through a process of rebirth. She enthusiastically suggests a plan to fix things. With that, she decides to roll with Ban's plan. In the present, Hasegawa stops playing the piano and lets out a furious scream at the interruption. He orders his minions to lop off the intruder's ears, and the corpses advance like ravenous beasts. Baum asks Chute if this is the brutal world he's always been up against. When he nods, the girl closes her eyes and makes up her mind. She wants to get a better grasp on his world, refusing to just get left behind. A massive unseen force blasts the corpses backward. The girl stands tall with her hair whipping in the wind as bright magical circles burst forth beneath her feet. This power shakes the whole building and chains the corpses with magical shackles. Even Hasegawa can't break free and is frozen in place. The girl tells Jay she'll cut the marionettes loose so he can focus on the puppeteer. Our kid nods and sprints towards his main target. Asagura futilely battles the radiant magical circles, screaming that this magic can't stop him. But the demonic energy incinerates him and his scales start to dissipate. The corpses seize the opportunity to advance, but our kid wields his sword and creates dark flashes that cut the air, taking down his enemies. The puppeteers threatening to cut their ears off so they can be permanent members of his audience and switches to mute mode, draining energy from his puppets to get stronger. The dragon's magic is shattered and the bomb crashes to the ground, completely annihilated by the demonic energy. She gasps and apologizes for not holding the magic any longer, but Jay whispers to her that she's done more than enough. As she looks at him, Bro starts to build up an aura and tells him to let him handle it. Meanwhile, Hasegawa goes off the rails, screaming that his presence is just a pesky noise, trash-talking his art. The girl warns the hero as the demon approaches, but it looks like it's a bit too late. Even the puppeteer thinks he's won until he hears our kid talk about an old tradition where they cut off the noble's ears. He asks the man if he got his inspiration from there and comments that his music is straight trash. The puppeteer isn't gonna let him diss his music, but before he can say a word, his head gets chopped off with one swipe. The force of the cut is so strong that the skyscraper shakes and Hasegawa's headless body stands there upright. Her head rolls across the floor in a black blood puddle. Our kid just stands there, stone-faced, and announces that the game's over. As Height presses his foot against the head, the girl looks up and realizes just how strong he is. When you call him, he assures her that the puppet master won't die from this. Just then, Hasegawa starts laughing and admits that our kid must know him pretty well. He's got a power that surpasses most superhuman ranks and knows what can only mean he's X. The demonic dude starts asking him about his goals, saying he must want world peace or something. But our kid shuts him down, saying he talks too much to be a corpse. Since his audience is dead, he can no longer act for them and will lose the immortality that Amarbarka granted him. This catches Hasegawa off guard, since our kid even knows the name of his master. Yet he still thinks he hasn't lost because he can still perform without an audience. Plus, if his audience is dropping off because his act isn't fire, he can always up his game and reel in more members. With this, the guy launches a series of strings from his decapitated body and launches them at Bomb. The girl's too shell-shocked to react and gets caught off guard before she can do anything. Hasegawa admits Jita has got some strength, but his girl's a total weak link. No matter how strong someone is, as long as their human nature is intact, they can still be controlled. He thinks he's one-upped our guy and starts telling him that his love is the reason for his downfall. If he touches her, he'll kill the girl. And if he does nothing, the girl will kill him. His only option is to kill himself or kill the girl. Unfortunately for this rookie, he has no idea who he's up against. As Bomb charges at Jit with that sharp shard of glass, he remains nonchalant and comments that the puppeteer has a terrible hobby. Suddenly, he turns his head towards him and mentions how glad he is that he hasn't changed. The old man freaks out and, before he can even process what's going on, Bro gets beamed up to the spiritual realm. He's wondering if all this is just a trip, but Bamba shows up behind him and drops the truth that he's actually in his own mind's realm. Instead of being controlled by him, she's got him on a string. The old man realizes the girl isn't human and tries to take her down, but it's a bit too little, too late. Bomb reveals his power source comes from the green dragons, and though weak, he'll never lose to someone like him. Asagura recalls hearing about the green dragons, but always thought they were a myth. With him completely tied up, the girl finally tells him that he was also wrong about her being Jite's mistress. At least for now. The guy starts yelling while being teleported to another place. This time he's seated on a piano in a cathedral. Jite tells him the hotel imploded, so he took him to another location to wrap up the show. This is the same place where he manipulated humans to slaughter each other. Among them was our kid, who was forced to kill the woman he loved. Jite stays silent as all those memories come flooding back to him. Then he declares this will be the final act for this devil. As he hears this, Hasegawa cracks up and reminds him that he's literally sold his soul to the devil to make music. As long as his audience remembers his performances, he won't die. Dude gets too hyped and spills the beans, saying since they're still alive after hearing his set, he's untouchable. Our kid suddenly looks up and admits he might be right. However, that doesn't mean he can't get taken out another way. In the next moment, he starts cutting his arms and comments that if he can't deliver for the devil, his contract will be useless. After cutting himself, Bro looks him dead in the eye and tells him to bring the house down for him. Hasegawa starts freaking out, but still thinks he can regenerate. But it turns out Bomb's mana is blocking his body from healing. With no other choice, Yonk starts banging his head against the piano to act. But the devil isn't gonna listen to this garbage. As a result, his contract is up and he's toast. He catches one of the burning embers and tosses it back at him. Noticing his reaction, the girl asks him what went down here. Instead, he pinches her cheeks and tells her not to do something so reckless again. I'm telling ya, if I hadn't done it, that guy'd still be kicking. Our kid knows he's right, so he rubs his head and tells him it's time to head back home. At home, we see her creating an observation report in her journal. In her report, she writes about various things she's observed about Jite so far, including mainly aspects of his personality and behavior. She also writes that she loved the bold outfit he was wearing. While Bohm is busy writing fan fiction about our guy, he walks in and asks her what she's up to. She immediately grabs her diary and hides it, making him even more suspicious. When he asks her what she's writing, she simply tells him she's filling in stars when she feels closer to him. Still a bit suspicious, he decides to believe her and leaves. She lets out a relieved sigh and wonders what's gotten into her, since she's never cared about what she does. This makes her wonder if he's changing because of her. As she's lost in thought, Yul sneaks into the room like a ghost and starts reading her diary. The girl gets scared at first, but then realizes it's just her little sister. After mocking her drawing, Gyul shows her the ID she swiped from her dad. Grabbing the ID from her hands, Bohm tells her she shouldn't be stealing and suggests returning it. However, upon looking at it, he notices something on the card. The scene cuts to the headquarters of the Global Association of Superhumans. Someone's watching the news about an incident at a hotel in Kyoto. According to the initial investigation, the prime suspect is a superhuman. Jefferson Antonio, the association's assistant, gets frustrated listening to the news and asks Minamoto, who's the superhuman in position 13, for an explanation. Instead of giving him an answer, she dodges his gaze and just clams up. The kid's still yelling that they know nothing about the incident or the perpetrators. As she listens to this, the girl lets out a sigh, telling him he's being too loud. This pushes Bro to the edge and he yells at him to find the culprits, since his boss is demanding answers. The girl tells him she'll look into it and starts to leave when he calls her back and shows her an anonymous tip report. It's about Liar's end-of-year bash at the Malaysian ball. The report mentions something's gonna go down at that bar. When he heard this, the girl asks if it was about demonic humans, and the man confirmed it. It turns out a Class Zero and a Class Catastrophe Demon have managed to get inside the Alliance. This finally grabs Minamoto's attention and slams his fist on the table, asking if he's accountable for what he just said. The kid reveals that the report was on his desk, meaning whoever submitted it must have had inside access. At first, he brushed it off as a joke, but then it started to add up. The girl asks him why he's spilling all the beans. He explains that the Malaysian dance is in Japan's territorial waters, and according to his intel, the Balkan Devil Squad is heading there. His job is to neutralize this threat, while they're hunting down moles within the Alliance's special forces. This is all on the down low, so you can't let it get out. As he leaves, Minamoto thinks the kid disrespects the Japanese royal family, making them do all the dirty work. He starts thinking about the report and realizes it's connected to Hasegawa's disappearance. The person who whacked him must have been slick enough to cover their tracks, meaning they're pretty resourceful. This makes her wonder if it was a job from an organization. As she thinks, the driver asks if he should assemble the team, but she tells him to wait for now, since she plans to attend the meeting first. The scene cuts back to Jite's house, where he's caught off guard by the 4 dragons. It turns out it was her birthday, and Bomb found out from her stolen ID card. Gail asks him proudly how the surprise was, and mentions that it's the first time she's ever wished someone a happy birthday. The kid looks at her and realizes she's rocking the same dress Bomb wore to the dance. She reveals she wanted to wear a dress for the birthday party, so she asks to borrow it, but the part that covers her chest is a bit too small. As they chat, Yorm gets riled up and says it's a real pain in the neck. Suddenly, she leaps into the air with the cake in her hands, ready to cake Jite's face. We cut to a flashback of her going toe-to-toe with inverted push-ups, drenched in sweat, gritting her teeth, and mumbling that she's probably done for. It's laughable that someone from the noble Dragonfire clan would learn to fight from a human. She thinks if anyone finds out, even a street mutt would be laughing on the floor, but looking at our kid, she's not even sure he's fully human. She knows she's got zero chance of taking him down, not even in a kill or be killed scrap. It's frustrating, but at least she wants to get revenge, wants to feel a little satisfied. That's why the fire-breathing dragon decides to take him down with a birthday cake. Right now, Height has Gyul completely caught off guard. Yorm smirks to herself thinking she's got him right where she wants him, with his hands full with the kid so he can't defend himself. She yells happy birthday and charges forward like a bullet. Our kid just stands there, cool as a cucumber, watching the girl fly towards him with the cake. But little Gel gets a bad feeling about this. Suddenly, memories of his grandpa flash in his mind. He told him to keep what matters most safe, no matter what. With that, he forms a shield around the hero and blocks the attack. The cake flies and lands right in the face of a stunned Gale. The room falls silent in. Jorm scratches his head, feeling a little guilty about his joke. Moving on, the birthday party gets underway with the table stacked with incredible grub. After wiping his face, Gale composes himself to kick off the gift-giving ceremony. Kite sits back and coolly remarks that he's not a kid who needs gifts. Gale smiles and tells him he's still a kid at 27 dragon years. Our kid takes the first gift and asks who made it. Bomb flashes a smile and takes credit for it. Inside a red box is a sleek, high-class silver pocket watch that looks straight out of a classic time capsule. As soon as he touches it, his Eternal Watch's skill resonates intensely, piquing his curiosity. He opens the watch case and finds a photo of the dragon family by the lake with the words, "Good times." Height stares at the photo in silence before saying thanks. Then, Gale excitedly holds up a pink slip explaining it's a wish voucher. She goes on and on about how she can make him do anything and that is the ultimate gift. However, his face turns pale when he asks for money instead of the gift certificate. Yorm mocks his sister, calling the gift lazy and insincere. He pulls out of a paper bag what he calls a truly practical gift. The ultimate gift from the fire dragon turns out to be a freshly laundered old white sock, leaving the whole crew completely gobsmacked. Yora explains, grinning, that she wears this sock all the time, but she cleaned it her own way before giving it to him. At first, our kids all like, "What's the deal?" But the sisters are totally hyped about it. Suddenly, he remembers that little Jewel sometimes looks at her socks and straight out asks if they have any spiritual meaning. Gyul tries to explain, but her sister quickly covers her mouth, telling her it's nothing and not to guess. Putting the sock thing aside, she tells Gyul to hurry up and show off her gift. The shy girl approaches our guy and asks him softly to close his eyes. Height complies, wondering what the girl has up her sleeve. When she tells him he'll know, he sees a necklace with a small glass vial dangling in front of his chest. Bam explains that they did it together with a lot of care, she and the girl. Inside the vial is one of Gull's dragon scales, and the chain is braided with her own hair. As soon as he heard about the hair chain, Guile froze and asked if swapping hair held a deeper meaning. Bomb waves her hand, saying there's nothing hidden. He's just showing off how much he likes the girl, so he's never gonna let it go. He nods with a smile and promises to take good care of the gift. Dude's freaking out, can't believe this icebox is grinning. After that, our kid tells everyone to hit the hay early. The scene cuts to the icy Marie birdland in Antarctica. This is the only part of Antarctica that's not claimed by any country, but a clandestine organization is secretly building a base there. Unlike the International League of Superheroes, this group is a roster of powerful individuals who only want to wipe out demons. Members include Minamoto 1, a 13th ranked special mission fiscal from the Japanese Empire, who's also known as the 13th best demon slayer in the world. He's also got BM, the first one to return from Era News, ranking second globally among superheroes, and Myung-jong, a regeneration druid from Korea's legendary magical clan, placing 9th in the world. Right now, he's bawling his eyes out and constantly screaming Minamoto's name. She walks into the room, sighs at the sight, and asks the scientist what's going on this time. The guy collapses at his feet, sobbing that the doctor just shared some big news. He's telling her that his wife is finally showing signs of recovery after all these years. This incredible news leaves the group stunned, since their illness was always considered untreatable. The concentration of old viruses in his body is dropping rapidly, which is a miracle that no research could achieve in the last 10 years. The guy firmly holds BM's hand, confirming that it's all thanks to the medicine that did the trick. BM downplays modestly, saying the herb itself acted as a powerful antibiotic to destroy the virus. He's curiously asking, "Where did you score that magic medicine?" Noticing it was a first in Arundat. The guy reveals that he got it from a stranger he met on the way, claiming he's not just any ordinary person, but someone incredibly powerful. As he hears this, BM starts wondering if she's the one he's been looking for. Just then, Minamoto cuts him off and takes him to a corner to chat in private. The dude lingers behind them, mumbling that these two are gonna get it in and find their happy place. She coolly congratulates him on his wife's recovery and walks away. He's still confused, joking if he suddenly developed feelings for him. She shoots down the idea right away, saying he's not her type. His expression turns serious in an instant, revealing that it's about Hasegawa and a calamity-level demon human. The two step out into the hallway to continue talking. BM points out that Hasegawa's disappearance and a bizarre report sent to the Heroes Association's headquarters are the work of the same person. That report mentioned a grade A disaster monster would show up, and Hasegawa is definitely one of them. The girl lets out a sigh and admits that given the circumstances, it's probably true, although she's not entirely convinced. For now, the association plans to roll with the year-end event. They've asked her to keep a low profile and handle the monsters gathering in the area while they're sniffing out hidden ones within the organization. When he hears this, BM bursts out laughing, calling them morons and saying it'll be a miracle if they find anything. Notice that she and her allies are the only ones putting in real effort, but she asks if they really need to keep this under wraps from the tree. It's a matter of life or death. She feels it would be too cruel to force someone who just escaped 10 years of hellish torture back into that nightmare. As soon as he hears this, BM jokingly asks him when he's been so kind, saying he's so moved he could cry. That gets under Minamoto's skin, and she threatens to take him down if he doesn't cut the wisecracks. He gets back on track and asks her what she's really after. She asks for his help to track down Hasegawa and figure out where that recent report came from. BM makes puppy eyes and reminds her he's no brilliant detective. But then an image of Jite pops into his head. He heads to his room, and Minamoto asks if he's thought of anything. BM smiles and says he's got someone in mind who's a suspect. Meanwhile, the scene cuts back to Jite's house, where the group is still celebrating their birthday. After a long time, they finally finish all the food on the table. Gail lets out a yawn, rubs her belly, and says she's stuffed and sleepy before heading off to her room. Our kid checks his watch and sees it's already 1:45 a.m. Notice little Ghoul's dozing off, so he gently pats her cheek and tells her it's bedtime. In her room, Bohm is writing in her journal, noting that it's December 12th and Jitty's birthday. Suddenly, the door swings open and he walks in with the girl. He asks if she's still awake, and Bohm quickly closes his diary, blushing. She yells at him for barging in without knocking, but he explains he's only there to tuck in Gull, since they share the room. When our dude turns around to split, the little one extends her hand and grabs his shirt, asking him to crash with her. He tells her he needs to sleep in his own room, but she pouts, looking bummed. Just then, Bohm intervenes and asks Jute to stick around until the kid falls asleep, reminding him that Gull even gave him a birthday gift. When he hears this, he caves and the three of them crash on Bomb's bed. Our kid's feeling uneasy cause the bed's feeling too cramped. But Bomb's all, it's just cause you're too big for the crib, dude. Notice Ghoul's eyes are still wide open, and Bohm explains the little girl is probably excited to be sleeping next to him. She tells him to gently stroke Ghoul's head to help her fall asleep. Jute hesitates, but then lets her hand fall onto the girl's stomach, making her jump, tell him to ease up. Gently stroking the girl's head once more, soothed by the warmth of his hand, she falls asleep quickly with her finger in her mouth. When he sees this, Bam gives him props for his gentle hands and says he's surprised she conked out so fast. He tells her to sleep, but instead she asks if he'll help her fall asleep. She complains that lately she's been seeing terrifying prophecies. He brushes it off as a nightmare, but she reminds him that he's her guardian and she's still just a kid. As she finds it hard to resist his goody-goody attitude, she asks him what she should do. He takes her hand, places it on his cheek, and tells her to pet her like he used to with gel. Feeling the softness of her hand, Jute flushes and gets all worked up. He quickly looks away, says he's exhausted, and makes a hasty exit from the room. Outside, he's wondering if he's become too soft and stuck in the daily grind. Just then, his system sends a notification confirming that a target has been exposed to a small fragment of malice. The target is a 30-man airborne special forces unit. Our guy feels a wave of relief, since he's more used to dealing with this kind of crap. The scene cuts to a construction site, where a worker is slammed into a wall. Another attacker is a red-headed muscle woman who's part of the crew. She tells the worker to scram because he doesn't even know why he's doing this. The rage hits her hard and she threatens to kill him. We learn that this aggressive group is the 30-man Airborne Special Force, a heavy-hitting combat unit of the Global Superhuman Association known for their dungeon raids and anti-terrorism ops. Height was a temporary member of this unit during his early and mid-life cycles. He's walking deep into the construction site and sees the two workers fleeing in terror. They warn him it's hazardous and tell him to run. Suddenly, a strong blow echoes and the blonde woman appears. She's Belle Barian, the team's taskmaster captain. She's livid, yelling at the old worker for not hightailing it fast enough, and she's threatening him. The old worker is shaking in tears, terrified for his life. In his life, the team was sent to hunt monsters at Lair Academy, but they got infected with malice. The pollution warps their personalities and speech patterns, turning them violent. When they realize they were infected from the report he made, Height tells the old man to scram and shut up while he handles it. The girl notices him and clenches her fist, asking who the scrawny kid thinks he is to get in her way. He unleashes a powerful punch, but he easily blocks it with his scrawny arm. Heather remembers how Varian used to put his hand on her shoulder, telling her she was too scrawny for the team and offering her protein powder. Now he's mocking her, saying her body's grown, but her punch has gone soft. Furious, she yells, but Height applies some serious pressure and slams her against a wall with the simple flick of his hand. When they see their captain get taken down, the other buff guys realize the kid is seriously packing some heat. Fueled by a high level of physical strength, they clench their fists and charge at him like lunatics, ready to crush him. Our kid stays ice cold as they charge at him, letting out just a soft whoosh. He fixes his gaze dead ahead and charges at the attackers, starting with the knee to the face of some guy. Another guy spots him and swings a big axe, but he's too quick and dodges it with ease. He follows up with a crushing punch to the guy's face. The last one still hasn't realized how deadly Jite is and keeps charging in. The guys are screaming, convinced that no matter how tough this scrawny kid looks, there's no way he can take on all of them at once. Suddenly, our kid breaks out with a special move called Gullikoi Combat Arts. In a flash, he lands a critical hit on the back of each guy. He's a bit rusty, hasn't used this ability in a while. Chitty's getting annoyed with the technique's side effects and wonders if Yaron will ever be able to pull it off right. Just as he's thinking that, a massive crate comes flying at him from a distance. He turns calmly, using his arm to slice the heavy box in two with ease. Barian regains consciousness, pulls out a level 3 relic greatsword called Rui Jingun Nunchucks, and charges straight at Yujite. Faced with this brutal attack, our kid uses just one hand to block it easily, simply crushing the gun with his bare hand, leaving the girl completely in shock. As he sees her stunned on the floor, he advances and asks if she's finally calmed down. The girl is still in shock and asks who he is. Hold up, she tells him she doesn't need to know, ordering him to follow her obediently so she can heal her and her team. That hits Baron's pride and her face darkens as she asks if he's seriously telling them to give up. Without hesitation, she runs and grabs him to immobilize him. She tells Jite he's an arrogant villain and warns him not to underestimate them, yelling that they're warriors who risk their lives on the front lines and aren't afraid to die. Our kid tells him he doesn't intend to take them out, but the girl refuses to buy it and tells him to shut his trap. Then he orders his warriors to rise up and fight to the death for their pride. As he sees the group is desperate, Jute unleashes his power once more. Think about how her annoying personality hasn't changed, but that's exactly why they liked her. In the next instant, countless souls burst forth from Jute's body, terrifying Varian. Check out the girl's eyes and ask if she's ready to play ball now. His bro summons his pilfered powers, including the fallen Angel Legion, the Celestial Eye, and the Grand Duke's Shadow. In no time, he's got the whole crew under his control. He uses his Grand Clock authority to start cleaning the 30 contaminated objectives, and the system confirms the presence of readings beyond the horizon. The Grand Clock's authority sweeps up the emerging malevolence, pushing the progress bar to 15.3, and for every 101 times the process wraps up, the radiant particles dissipate into thin air. Height wonders if 30 mentally compromised individuals will fit in the lab and decides to bring a good wine to break the ice. The scene shifts to BM's lab, where the Chimera slaps a magic stone into a level 4 artifact called Hera's Kaleidoscope. BM's pretty stoked, itching to put the machine through his paces. He's been trying to analyze a lock of hair that Will lost, but regular equipment was useless. With this gadget, he's dead sure he can pinpoint the source of his mojo. As he works, a hand brushes against his shoulder from behind. Irritated, he tells the visitor he's busy and tells him to scram, but the hand keeps touching his shoulder, pissing him off. When he turns around, he finds our guy there with a bottle of wine. He notes coldly that this is where the lost hair of Gel came to an end. BM tries to come up with a weak excuse, claiming he just found it on the floor while cleaning up after his last visit in, that he didn't mean any harm. Without saying a word, Hute takes the hair and destroys it. BM freaks out over the sudden loss, but quickly gets back to business, asking what brings him here. Our kid explains that there are more corrupt individuals. BM accepts the wine gift with gusto, but when he looks back and sees a massive crew of giant dudes seated in rows on the floor, he's completely powerless. He's complaining that 30 massive soldiers are too many for his space, and realizes his lab will have to be expanded. He's breathing a sigh of relief, feeling like Hiddles turned him into a pack mule once again. He notices the insignias on their clothes and realizes these people are the Alliance's Air Special Forces, recalling that Minamoto mentioned they were sent to hunt down hidden monsters. As they're there, the girl starts showing signs of waking up and asks where they are. He's all stumped, so he stammers and lies, saying it's a psych ward and he's the doc. She looks at BM and our guy adds that he's the nurse. The girl recognizes the gaunt face of BM and is surprised that a famous hero works part-time as a nurse. Height cuts to the chase, telling them they've got to stay here for 3 months to a year because their thoughts and emotions are toxic and out of control. He's warning Burjang that if they bail now, they'll lose control and end up hurting innocent people. Forced to accept the treatment, she asks for some space and equipment to train, since they can't afford to lose their strength. BM blows up, asking if she thinks his lab is a gym, but Jite puts a hand on his shoulder and cuts him off, telling him the nurse will set everything up for them. BM lets out a heavy sigh at being bossed around once again. He's looking over at the living armor and the captured girl, cleaning up and asking how they're doing. BM admits the situation is bad, since the armor type is deeply attached to his old teacher. But the real problem is the girl, who has no will to live. As he listens, our kid approaches the girl while the living armor quickly joins the crew for a weightlifting session. He asks the girl if anything's bugging her. She owns up and apologizes for causing the scene earlier. He sits down with her and tells her to let him go. The girl opens up and asks if the newcomers are with the Alliance. When Jitty confirms, she explains her tragic past. She used to work at a small rural orphanage. During a massive flood, the other adults bailed, leaving her to fend for the kids alone. She hid the kids inside and stepped out to scope for any beasts. Although the monsters got lost in the building, a blinding flash of light suddenly incinerated the entire orphanage. It was a friendly fire from the Global Superhuman Association's artillery. She was the sole survivor and blames herself for the deaths, explaining that a dark entity took her over. Height asks if seeing the Alliance members bothers her, but surprisingly says no. She explains that instead of feeling pain, she actually feels strangely happy since she arrived at the lab. Just sitting around, cleaning and flipping through boring magazines is a blast for her. She flops on the floor, screaming that a terrible person like her shouldn't be happy or even be alive. Our kid gets up and tells her straight out that if she wants to die, she should do it, because living requires having something to look forward to. As she walks away, the girl wonders if he has something to live for too. Height looks at the crystal on his chest, pauses for a moment, and responds that he's trying to do the same. Just then, Birian walks up and asks if they're done talking, tells the girl he overheard she doesn't want to live, and says he's got a magic bullet that'll fix her. The girl tries to do a squat as the group yells at her, saying her physical weakness is the real reason she wants to die. Since they don't have gym equipment, Barian decides to start with armless exercises, warning her not to use magic to clear her mind of bad thoughts. The girl screams in total desperation, admitting defeat. Our kid tells Armada to take care of her, and the armor nods in agreement. BM approaches Jute, intrigued by how easily he responded to questions about the Alliance, and deduces that a human demon of the Calamity class will appear at the year-end event. Jute confirms a massive battle is brewing and tells him he'll need his help. Meanwhile, the scene returns to the penthouse, where Gale excitedly gazes at a small yellow creature that looks like a chick. Next, the scene cuts to Lair Academy, where Gale and her crew are strolling down the path, living their best lives. She walks with them, carrying her acoustic guitar case. Wondering why her classes ended so early today, her friend explains that a major mythical creature containment breach has just gone down. These mythical creatures are magically awakened animals packed with high-density mana, and some supers are able to tame them for team play. Her friend points out that since the main disaster alarm isn't blaring, the escaped creature is probably not as hazardous. A buddy suggests we all head to the park to check out the new swanky cafe, snap some pics in the photo booth, and hit the rides. Gale looks down, sad, and tells them she doesn't think she can make it, implying she's stuck with her overbearing guardian. His friends catch on that his guardian is way too uptight and are complaining that he's being super overprotective. They think he's just trying to keep her safe because she's a total looker, and they promise to get her a sweet keychain to make her feel better. They bid each other farewell and head to the center. Gale returns the greeting with a big smile and tells them to have fun, but the moment they turn around, her smile is completely extinguished. She walks alone, telling herself Jitty only worries about her because she freaks out in loud, crowded places, even though she's feeling chill now. Then her teenage rebel persona comes out. She wonders why he hates it so much that she plays the guitar, complaining that she can't even practice at home because he's always walking on eggshells. He has no idea that Height's traumatized because she went off the deep end like a broken pop idol in past life cycles. She's running down the streets, spinning like a top in her cute chibi form, and decides that if she can't play at home, she'll play outside to show the world the true rebellious spirit of the Golden Dragon. The scene cuts to a serene and sunny forest, where Gau's chilling on a rock, looking all laid back. She thinks a chill, off-the-beaten-path spot like this is perfect, because crowds get her all riled up. She opens her case, pulls out her acoustic guitar, and strums a single string. As she strums, the local birds fly down to perch on a nearby branch and harmonize with the melody, as a tiny squirrel and a white rabbit gather at the base of her rock. But just as she's hitting her solo, a dark whispering sound comes from the thick bushes behind her. Gale freezes, and her eyes go wide with panic. She feels a presence that doesn't seem like it's from a regular human or animal. Suddenly, he recalls a warning from Jite that he told him a few weeks ago, that if strangers offer him business cards, he should bail. He slings the guitar like a garrote and yells at the bushes that he doesn't need a card from some freak. The leaves part and a perfectly round little yellow chick appears. His eyes turn into huge golden stars when he realizes he's just a cute little chick. She doesn't take long to get weird and asks if she can touch it. The little chick looks at her, lets out a terrified squeak, and takes off running. The chick follows him into the woods, screaming that she won't touch him and just wants to look. The little yellow chick is surprisingly quick, jumping and sprinting vertically up a massive oak tree. He leaps onto a high branch, out of his reach, and sits there. Gale looks up, utterly crestfallen, wondering if the little yellow bird is out to get her. Later that night, the family is dining in the mansion's dining room. Suddenly, Gale clicks her chopsticks shut and says she's lost her appetite, so she's going to head up to her room. She walks away with her head down. Her sisters look at her confused, since she ate more than all of them. Jeet senses something's off and decides to check in on her. As he enters her room, he finds her munching on sandwiches. The girl tells him she suddenly felt hungry and asks if he wants a bite. He rejects it and his eyes lock onto the screen of his tablet, which displays an article titled How to Approach a Chicken. Gale sits down and explains that he met a wild chickadee in the mountains today and wants to get close, but it keeps running away. She sighs, worried because it's getting cold outside and the little bird is way up in a tree. She looks at him with hopeful big eyes and asks what he's doing to make someone open up to him for the first time. Our kid remembers how he lured him with food and gives him the same suggestion. The girl gets all excited hearing this and promises to give it a shot tomorrow. Meanwhile, we see the little chick sitting peacefully on a high branch. Suddenly, she hears a group of adorable kittens below. But in the next instant, his eyes turn red and he's off the chain, homing in on that little chick. Looks like the bird didn't react in time, and we're seeing a couple of feathers flying through the air. The scene cuts to Gale running excitedly with a bucket of fried chicken to feed the chick. He had told Hit that the chick probably was hungry, so he thinks this will interest it. But when he gets to the tree, he finds it's been cleaned out. As he looks around, he notices a pile of feathers stained with blood. There's claw marks on the tree, plus some mojo signs. This brings back the convo he had with his buddy about the spiritual creatures that busted out of the sanctuary. Gale quickly pieces it together and realizes what's going down. Meanwhile, in Heatling's entertainment district, we see the cats harassing the poor chick, and it's like they're trying to give it a hard time. You know, like they're trying to give it a bad rep. But they're all from the same sanctuary, so it's like, what's the beef, man? The chick is cornered, and the cats don't seem keen on letting it go. They ask him why they're doing this if they're from the same sanctuary anyway. As soon as he hears this, one of the cats gets fired up and tells him they're just salty about him. In the sanctuary, everyone always loved the chick and gave it special treats. They got dissed, so now they're out for revenge. Just then, one of the cats springs forward and prepares to attack the chick with his sharp claws. But our girl intervenes and puts herself between the cats. She takes the hit for the little chick, making sure it's good to go. After scooping up the chick, she turns on the cats and gives them a piece of her mind for pulling this on her own buddy. The cats seem a bit miffed, not wanting to deal with the human, so they decide to lay off the chick for now. After they leave, the girl smiles and tells the chick she found it by following his scent. She mentions they should first tend to their wounds, even though she's injured herself. The chick notes her injuries and clucks something before closing his eyes. The next thing we see is him chilling on Gale's head while our dude looks on, totally perplexed. She tells him the whole story and says he's just got some scuffs. Jute scolds him for being so reckless and reveals that the chick isn't your average bird. As he's patching it up, Bob mentions he heard about the incident at the sanctuary and assumes this chick must be one of the escaped creatures. Suddenly, the chick opens his eyes and starts to buzz off. Gale gets stoked and quickly scrambles up to fetch some H2O. But Gule cuts her off before she can leave and uses her own magic on the chick instead. She uses it to feed him, and just one sip of that magic water has him juiced up. All the girls get hyped at this and quickly gather around the bird. The chick shows up and thanks them for their help, but none of them can get the gist. The girls look at Jute, and he tells them he's just saying, "Thanks, dude." The chick seems especially grateful to Gale, as she saved him from those cats, even leaning in to show her gratitude and shaking hands. The scene cuts to the cathedral where we see Wyan checking out a piano. Just then, a girl approaches and comments that Hasegawa has gone missing here. The kid's referring to her as his big, and she mentions he should be stoked to be getting a promotion. We learn she's the class calamity demon, Issel Khalifa. The kid apologizes and says he should have paid more attention to this, since it's related to his job. And Saul tells him it's okay, since he was getting annoyed with him asking him to do puppets all the time. As he talks, Wyan notices his puppets holding a guy. She tells him they caught him while he was hiding here, probably to call for backup. It turns out he's the 14th tier superhuman, Edward Crane, also known as the Bloodhound. He looks at Widgeon with disdain and calls him a rat. The kid doesn't care much and just apologizes to the girl and says he's done. However, before approaching, the superhuman uses his ability and asks if he really thought a rookie like him would take him down. Wyan freezes up when he realizes how quick the guy moves, and before he can react, the dude's got him by the throat. Even the redhead chick looks a bit taken aback. As he's choking him, the man screams that he'll take him with him, but then his head twists and explodes. We hear a voice saying he shouldn't be causing a ruckus in the sacred cathedral. Wyatt seems stoked to see the kid who just walked in and calls him Big Shot. The kid smiles and comments that it's been a long time. We learn he's a class A nightmare named Noah. Wyatt explains that Noah is seen as a god among the demoniacal chosen to be named to the position by the Abyss. He doesn't know much about him, except that he reached the pinnacle of his power before getting the nod. Noah calls him a kid and comments that he became the 5th invisible blade. The kid kneels down in front of him, trying to be humble, saying he doesn't deserve it. The redhead girl agrees and tells him he came up short, since he almost got taken down by someone that week. Noah then asks how that person managed to find out they were meeting today. It didn't seem like they were here on their own, and probably still followed orders from the Alliance. Izzle sighs at this, commenting that they know a lot about them, but nothing about the Alliance. This gets her a little fired up, and she asks the kid what he's been up to in the Alliance all this time. Ji-Hunt quickly apologizes to both of them, and the conversation shifts to the next event. Noah makes it clear he doesn't want any drama. As they leave, the girl tells him he's gone soft, saying he should have at least cut Wyatt's arm off to teach him a lesson. Meanwhile, Bro is about to lose his load from fear and rage towards our guy, since he's the one behind all this. Back at the academy, his top aide seems a bit frazzled after learning his plan was leaked. Win just told him he'd kill him if they don't find that person soon. The kid slams his desk in anger, unable to wrap his head around how this person knows all his plans. Only this crew and the old-timers knew about that meet, so it's a dead giveaway that some outsider got the intel. Just then, the kid looks at the girl and starts wondering if she's the one who spilled the beans. The scene cuts back to the house, where we see the poor creature being harassed by the girl. She tells them she doesn't like being touched and talks about what the humans did to her in the sanctuary. However, little Gule doesn't seem to get it in, just keeps cuddling her like a stuffed animal. Her sister even put a bow in her head, despite the creature being male. She starts recording this thinking she's into the bow. Just then, her wild sister enters and asks what that is. She grabs the creature by the head and asks if they picked it up off the street. When Gale sees this, he immediately tells her to let it go. The girl then asks for the creature's name, but since they don't seem to get it, she just tells them it's Pip Pip. As they talk, the poor creature has to endure the stench of Jorm's cigarette smoke. To make matters worse, she even starts licking it, causing the poor creature to faint. After trying it, people are saying it's not even good enough to be a chicken. Meanwhile, her sister is furious with her for bullying her friend and starts throwing punches at her. The two start calling each other names, and Jorm finally starts hitting his sister. As soon as she sees them going at it, the girl quickly grabs the remote and posts a video of them getting down. Just then, Baum walks in and tells her not to mess with other people's stuff. He tells the other sisters to knock it off. As soon as he takes jail, he gets zapped and sees a vision of what's to come. This makes her run towards our kid, who already knows what happened. It looks like he's about to leave, so she asks if she can go too. Surprisingly, this time she doesn't refuse and tells him she needs his help. Upon seeing her so surprised, he mentions that he can stay if she doesn't want to go, but the girl reveals she's extremely happy because it's the first time he's asked for her help. The scene cuts to the secret base of the organization, where BM presents everyone with enthusiasm. By his side is an elderly woman named Lua Minamoto, while on the other side is our kid and the bomb. Jute just introduces himself as the human demon hunter, and the girl says he's her sidekick. Upon hearing this, she and the old woman start trading compliments back and forth. This ruffles Minamoto, who gets up grumbling that it's a bit too much. Although she asked for his help, he couldn't stomach her attitude since she didn't give him any credit for himself. BM tries to calm her down, but it doesn't seem to be working. Jute gives her a hard look and asks if she wants to see her powers for herself. This only makes the girl angrier and gets her ready to fight. Before she can draw her sword, the grandmother warns her that she'll die the moment she makes a single move. As Minamoto's confused, her grandmother takes a sip of her tea and apologizes on her behalf. Then she turns directly to our kid and asks if he's on the side of humanity.